Chapter 1976. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming grabbed one of Luo Zhangxiong's legs and used him as a weapon. Several emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect were smashed away, and one was even smashed to death. The others spat out blood and retreated. Ha ha ha, cool, this weapon is really handy. Lu Ming laughed heartily, feeling extremely carefree. On the contrary, Luo Zhangxiong was furious and constantly roared. He wanted to rush out and fight with Lu Ming, but he finally restrained himself. He was too aggrieved. At first, his face was stepped on by Lu Ming, and then his crotch was stepped on by Lu Ming, which made him miserable. At this moment, Lu Ming used him as a weapon to kill the people of the Daluo Heaven sect. He was so angry that he wanted to go crazy. He kept roaring to vent his anger. He knew that he had been utterly humiliated. Even if he were to achieve great things in the future, or even achieve the martial monarch realm like his grandfather, it would still be a humiliation for the rest of his life. People would laugh at him behind his back. Lu Ming, I will make you suffer. I swear, and your family, your friends, they will all die. Luo Zhangxiong's crazy voice came out. What are you shouting for? It was you who killed the people of the Daluo Heaven sect. I just did it on your behalf. Lu Ming scolded. Luo Zhangxiong spat out a mouthful of blood. What did he mean by it was he who killed the people of the Daluo Heaven sect and Lu Ming just did it on his behalf? Don't use him as a weapon if you have the ability. Bang! Lu Ming swung Luo Zhangxiong out and another emperor-to-be was blown away. The emperor-to-be spat out blood. Luo Zhangxiong was also dizzy because of the collision. Don't fight with him. The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect shouted and stepped back, not daring to get close to Lu Ming. Other emperor-to-be did the same. When they saw Lu Ming coming, they quickly ran away. Then, the scene became a funny scene. Lu Ming swung Luo Zhangxiong and chased him in the sky. The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect was running around in a mess. Many people were speechless. The first young master of the Daluo Heaven sect, the grandson of the great, the genius who had been deprived of the king-level physique, and nearly 100 emperors-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect, were beaten so badly by Lu Ming. After Luo Zhangxiong was brutally abused, he became Lu Ming's weapon, which really made people speechless. At the same time, everyone was shocked. This also proved how powerful Lu Ming was. Hey, don't run away. There are so many emperor-to-be here, but none of you dare to fight with me. The Daluo Heaven sect is a great emperor-level influence. What a disappointment. Lu Ming carried Luo Zhangxiong upside down and ran wildly in the air, chasing the emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect. The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect turned blue with anger. Put Luo Zhangxiong down if you have the ability. Oh. You're carrying Luo Zhangxiong, yet you're still fighting like this? Those quasi-emperors roared in their hearts. Lu Ming, come and fight with me if you have the ability. At this time, Xinghe's voice was heard all over the place. He was also very unhappy. In Yuan Mountain Saint Academy, Luo Zhangxiong had turned to him and was a member of the Celestial Emperor Alliance. Now he was beaten so badly by Lu Ming, which made him lose face. At this moment, Xinghe and Death Blade had already exchanged hundreds of blows. Death Blade was gradually at a disadvantage in the battle. After all, Xinghe had already broken through to the exceptional saint realm and was very close to the emperor-to-be realm. In terms of the mastery of the law, he was stronger than Death Blade. After a long battle, he gradually gained the advantage. Xinghe, your cultivation is 2 levels higher than mine. As an eternal son, you want to fight with someone whose cultivation is lower than yours. Is this your arrogance? Well, isn't everyone in the Heng family like you? Lu Ming sneered. If you don't dare to fight, then just say it. Xinghe and Death Blade exchanged blows again and forced Death Blade to retreat dozens of miles. Xinghe, you don't have to provoke me. Today, I really want to fight with you. After saying that, Lu Ming stopped chasing the people of Daluo Heaven sect. He carried Luo Zhangqiong and walked towards Xinghe. Many people, including Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the rest, as well as Lu Ming's enemies, were shocked. Was Lu Ming really going to fight with Xinghe? Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he was definitely not Xinghe's opponent. Perhaps, he was going to join forces with Death Blade. Many people thought so. Let me go. Luo Zhangqiong roared. Shut up. Lu Ming stepped forward and stepped on Luo Zhangqiong's crotch. Luo Zhangqiong screamed like a eunuch and arched his body. In Lu Ming's palm, runes constantly spread out and covered Luo Zhangqiong's armor. Luo Zhangqiong was sealed and could not resist. He could only be carried by Lu Ming like a weapon. Everyone was stunned. Was Lu Ming going to fight with Xinghe with Luo Zhangqiong as a weapon? Death Blade, leave Xinghe to me. Lu Ming stepped forward and came to Death Blade's side. Leave it to you? Death Blade was puzzled. Why? You don't trust me? Don't worry, I'll beat up Xinghe for you. You go and help Huang Ling. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming is so arrogant that he wants to fight Xinghe alone. And, didn't you hear his tone? He actually ordered Death Blade to help Huang Ling. That's ridiculous. With Death Blade's character, it's good that he didn't draw his sword. Some people whispered. Although many people were still fighting, there were also some people who did not make a move. They stood in the distance and watched the battle. After hearing Lu Ming's words, they all shook their heads. However, the next scene was beyond their expectations. Death Blade nodded and then moved. He turned into a terrifying sword light and attacked the quasi-emperors of the Han family. The Death Blade was extremely terrifying. With one slash, 3 quasi-emperors of the Han family were killed. Damn it, let's kill him together. The quasi-emperors of the Han family were furious. Many of them joined forces and launched a terrifying attack on Death Blade. However, Death Blade was surrounded by the light of death. Within 100 meters around him, it was like a domain of death. The light of death merged with the sword light. With one slash, it broke the opponent's attack and killed a quasi-emperor. Ordinary quasi-emperors were almost defenseless against Death Blade and were killed in one move. Sky Veil of Death. Then, a terrifying gray gas spread out from Death Blade's body. This was the Chi of Death. It shrouded at least half of the area of the Great Derivation Furnace. When the quasi-emperors saw this Chi of Death, they retreated. In this way, the pressure on Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Ouyang Wushuang was greatly reduced. They were able to block the opponent's attack. Xinghe's face turned ugly. His body was shrouded in the light of eternity. He was like a god that was eternal and immortal. Bang! Then, Xinghe took a step forward. A terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming like a storm. He did not want to talk nonsense. He wanted to end the battle quickly and kill Lu Ming as soon as possible to take back the Heavenly Emperor's sword. Let's fight. Lu Ming muttered. His spine was suffused with a crimson glow and a drop of blood appeared. Waves of powerful and terrifying energy surged into Lu Ming's body. Chapter 1977. Lu Ming had unleashed his third bloodline. Lu Ming knew that if he did not unleash his third bloodline, he would not be a match for Han Xinghe. Han Xinghe was an eternal son and was not inferior to him in any aspect. He had mastered the eternal law, cultivated the eternal light, and was about to become a quasi-emperor. He was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming. Even his divine skills were more powerful than Lu Ming's and had reached 99% mastery. In terms of spiritual body, Lu Ming might not be as strong as Han Xinghe, even if he had refined 3 chaotic laws. He was born with an eternal body and was protected by the heavens. Once he became a martial emperor, his spiritual body would evolve into a superior heavenly spiritual body. In fact, all Elysian sons were like that. Lu Xiangxiang's life body, Ouyang Moli's reincarnation body, and Death Blade's death body were all born with it. Once they reached the martial emperor level, they would become superior heavenly spiritual bodies. Moreover, because they were born with it, their spiritual bodies contained a special substance. For example, the life body contained the chi of life. The chaotic body contained the chi of chaos. Therefore, their spiritual bodies were stronger than superior heavenly spiritual bodies. Strictly speaking, Lu Ming could not be considered an Elysian son. This was because everything he had was acquired through cultivation, and not something he was born with. His soul and the laws of chaos were both cultivated. He was not born with the chaotic body. However, others did not know this. When they saw that Lu Ming had mastered the chaotic laws, they called Lu Ming the son of chaos. Now, Lu Ming's spiritual body had refined 3 chaotic chi. Compared to Han Xinghe, he might have a slight advantage. Lu Ming's other advantage was that he had 2 sacred hearts and 2 laws. However, this was not enough to make up for the gap between him and Han Xinghe. Therefore, he needed the 3rd bloodline to make up for it. The 3rd bloodline seemed to have endless energy. Even though Lu Ming had reached his current level, he still felt that the energy in it was endless. He could only borrow a drop in the ocean. Endless killing intent emanated from Lu Ming's body. His eyes began to turn blood red. His long black hair also turned blood red. His aura was constantly increasing, and he could faintly contend with the stellar river. Xinghe's eyes narrowed slightly as he said coldly, "Borrowing external forces is ultimately too weak to withstand a single blow. Kill." His silhouette instantly rushed towards Lu Ming, as though he had teleported. At the same time, a battle sword appeared in his hand. Without a doubt, it was an emperor-ranked weapon. The sword light slashed through the air, slashing towards Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming was even more straightforward. He lifted Luo Zhangqiong and smashed him towards the stellar river. Luo Zhangqiong roared in his armor, feeling extremely aggrieved. He had become Lu Ming's weapon. Xinghe's expression also changed. With a flick of his wrist, the sword light changed direction and slashed towards Lu Ming from another direction. However, Lu Ming flung Luo Zhangqiong away and crashed into the sword light of Stellar River. Stellar River's sword light changed again, but Lu Ming could always keep up with the sword light by wielding Luo Zhangqiong. "Lu Ming, let go of Luo Zhangqiong and fight with me if you dare." Anger appeared on Xinghe's face, which had been calm all along. There was a ball of fire in his chest. Lu Ming wielded Luo Zhangqiong to fight with him. Luo Zhangqiong's identity was extraordinary. He was the grandson of a great emperor. In terms of status, he was higher than Lu Ming. Although the Han clan also had a great emperor, that great emperor was his ancestor. He was afraid that if he seriously injured or killed Luo Zhangqiong, he would offend the great emperor of the Daluo Heaven sect. "Nonsense, you have an emperor-ranked battle sword. I don't have an emperor-ranked weapon. This is my emperor-ranked weapon," Lu Ming said as he flung Luo Zhangqiong away. Luo Zhangqiong was dizzy from the flinging. When he heard Lu Ming's words, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. When did he become Lu Ming's emperor-ranked weapon? Then I won't use my emperor-ranked weapon. I'll fight with you. Stellar River. Are you stupid not to use your emperor-ranked weapon when you have one? Anyway, I'm going to use it, Lu Ming said disdainfully. He swung Luo Zhangqiong and smashed it towards Xinghe with astonishing power. The armor on Luo Zhangqiong's body was extraordinary. It was sturdy and indestructible. Lu Ming thought that even the Void Emperor wouldn't be able to break it so easily. It was the most suitable weapon. The two exchanged a few moves. For a moment, Xinghe was at a disadvantage and couldn't use his full strength. Many people looked at each other in dismay. Lu Ming is really shameless. Some people were indignant. Xinghe's cultivation is 2 levels higher. How can Lu Ming not use some tricks? Why don't you say that Xinghe is shameless? Some people felt that Lu Ming's behavior was normal. Look, the platform is reacting. At this moment, someone exclaimed and pointed at the stone platform. By now, many people had died in the battle. The blood of those who died in the battle was attracted by a mysterious force and flew toward the stone platform and seeped into the ancient altar. The ancient altar was flickering. Then, a giant blood-red bridge extended from the stone platform to the other side of the abyss. However, the giant blood-red bridge only extended for a short distance before it stopped. Sacrificing blood to the bridge. It's really sacrificing blood to the bridge, but there's not enough blood. Someone shouted. Kill. At the scene, the battle cries shook the sky. Some of the stronger forces began to kill some of the weaker forces. More people joined the battle. It was chaos. People were constantly killed and fell here forever. Xinghe's eyes were also filled with a bright light. He shouted coldly, Lu Ming, sacrifice your blood to the bridge. After saying that, Xinghe's sword light skyrocketed. He seemed to no longer be afraid of Luo Zhangxiong. His battle sword broke through the air with an incomparably sharp qi and slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming lifted Luo Zhangxiong and smashed it. Clang! Xinghe's battle sword accurately slashed Luo Zhangxiong's body, creating a loud sound and sparks. Luo Zhangxiong's body shook violently. He was stunned by the powerful force. Lu Ming's body swayed and he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Swoosh! Swoosh! Xinghe's sword light was like a flying immortal, constantly slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming circulated all the strength in his body and stepped forward. Luo Zhangxiong in his hand was like a black hammer that constantly smashed out. Clang! Clang! The two of them clashed for more than 10 moves in a row. The void was rumbling and vibrating constantly. The terrifying energy turned into shockwaves that spread outwards in a circle. Some people who were closer to them were hit by the shock waves. They couldn't help but be pushed back, their faces pale. Many people were shocked. This kind of combat strength was terrifying. Ordinary quasi-emperors couldn't withstand the shock waves. How shocking was that? What shocked them even more was that Lu Ming could actually fight against Xinghe. This made it difficult for many people to calm down. The He family, Daluo Heaven sect, and the only powerful forces such as the Divine Temple. The Wan family of the Ancient Moon Holy Land, the Golden Crow clan, and the Sirius Pagoda were also shocked. Chapter 1978. Heng Xinghe was known as the #1 supreme talent among the younger generation in Yuan Mountain. Didn't that mean that the current Lu Ming was already standing at the peak of the younger generation in Yuan Mountain and it was hard to find a match for him? The experts from the Golden Crow clan, Wan clan, and other forces looked gloomy. They had to report this matter to their superiors when they got out so that they could come up with a countermeasure. If this continued, Lu Ming would continue to grow and it would be a disaster for them. Lu Ming and Heng Xinghe exchanged more than 10 moves, but it was hard to determine the winner. Heng Xinghe seemed to be afraid of breaking Luo Zhangxiong's armor. Clang! After another explosion, the seal runes that had been covering Luo Zhangxiong's armor collapsed. Boom! Luo Zhangxiong went berserk and activated the law of deprivation at full force, shrouding Lu Ming in an attempt to devour Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. He finally knew why Heng Xinghe had exchanged blows with him previously. His purpose was to break the seal on Luo Zhangxiong's body and let Luo Zhangxiong regain his freedom. Eternal sword tide. How could Heng Xinghe miss this opportunity? In an instant, he stabbed out more than 1,000 times with his sword. Endless sword lights were like a tide of swords, stabbing towards Lu Ming. All of them were aimed at Lu Ming's vital points. At this moment, Lu Ming wanted to reseal Luo Zhangxiong and use him as a weapon, but it was no longer possible. It would even put him in danger. Whoosh! Lu Ming let go of Luo Zhangxiong and retreated rapidly. He kept punching out with his fists, and the shadows of the prison-suppressing steels appeared and blocked the sword lights that were coming towards him. As soon as Luo Zhangxiong was free, his figure flickered wildly and pulled a long distance away from Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I'll remember this. Just you wait. Luo Zhangxiong's angry voice was heard. I'll remember this too. I believe everyone will remember this too. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Luo Zhangxiong was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His body trembled with anger. That's right. Today's matter had already been remembered by everyone, and it would soon spread throughout the entire Yuan Mountain. In the future, when others saw Luo Zhangxiong, they would think of today's scene. Luo Zhangxiong was just a joke. He was so angry that he wanted nothing more than to chop Lu Ming into pieces. He wanted nothing more than to kill everyone who had witnessed what had happened today. Trash, get lost. Lu Ming could not be bothered with Luo Zhangxiong. He waved his hand disdainfully before turning his gaze to the stellar river. Luo Zhangxiong was so angry that he almost went up to Lu Ming. Lu Ming, now that you don't have Luo Zhangxiong, let's see how you're going to stop me. The eternal light on Xinghe's body became more and more brilliant, as if he was an immortal that didn't belong to this world. With one less piece of trash, it's a good fight. Lu Ming said faintly as he channeled his saint power to the extreme. Chaotic light surrounded him, making him look like a god of war. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them moved at the same time, charging towards each other. Sword of Eternity. Chaotic Calamity Finger. A ray of sword light collided with a huge finger in the air, and then they were annihilated. Lu Ming and Xinghe's figures also collided. Lu Ming slashed down again, and a phantom of the prison-suppressing steel appeared. It was as big as a mountain, and with an aura that could suppress the heavens, it suppressed Xinghe. Xinghe's sword light slashed violently, and split the phantom of the prison-suppressing steel in one fell swoop. But what faced him were more phantoms of the prison-suppressing steel. Lu Ming waved his hand, and 9 phantoms of the prison-suppressing steel appeared and blasted towards Xinghe. At the same time, countless inscriptions appeared on his left hand and spread towards Xinghe. This was the power of the seal, and he wanted to seal Xinghe. However, when the power of the seal got close to Xinghe, it couldn't break through the eternal light of the stellar river and was blocked. Then, the eternal light shook, and the countless runes collapsed. I'm an eternal. How can a mere law of the king do anything to me? Xinghe's voice rang out. At the same time, a terrifying sword light burst out and shattered the 9 prison-suppressing steels. Whoosh! There was another sword light that pierced through the phantoms of the prison-suppressing steels and attacked Lu Ming. However, when the sword light hit the chaotic light, it was as if it had hit an iron wall. It made ear-piercing and unpleasant sounds, and sparks flew in all directions. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and his blood-red hair fluttered. He borrowed the power of the third bloodline to cross the gap between him and Xinghe, and the two of them began a peak battle. Lu Ming sometimes used the prison-suppressing heavenly skill, sometimes the chaotic finger of calamity, and together with the law of formation, he erupted with astonishing battle strength. An ordinary quasi-emperor could be killed in one move. However, Xinghe was indeed powerful. His sword light pierced the sky, and his body turned into an eternal light. He was no weaker than Lu Ming. In the blink of an eye, the two of them exchanged more than 100 moves, but there was no clear winner. Boom! The two of them exchanged another blow. The eternal light and chaotic light shook, and the two of them floated back at the same time. Lu Ming, this secret technique of yours is indeed very powerful, but the after-effects should be very severe. I wonder how long you can last. Xinghe's eyes flickered with sharpness. He believed that the power of Lu Ming's third bloodline should be a strange and terrifying secret technique that could increase one's battle strength in a short period of time. However, such a secret technique would usually have a huge after-effect. Why don't you give it a try? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Naturally, he would not explain. The energy in the third bloodline was endless. Even if he kept borrowing it, it would not be exhausted. Lu Ming, even if you use your secret technique, you are still no match for me. Then, I will show you my strongest battle strength. Xinghe said coldly. The eternal light on his body became brighter and brighter, as if it was about to burn. Eternal Divine Bell. At this moment, Xinghe's aura increased by another notch. His body shone brightly, and finally turned into a large bell that enveloped him. Clang! The large bell buzzed, and a sound wave, visible to the naked eye, rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face suddenly changed. In the face of this sound wave, he had a very dangerous feeling. Chaotic Calamity Finger. Lu Ming did not hesitate to use the Chaotic Calamity Finger and pointed it out with all his might. However, when the sound wave rushed over, the Chaotic Calamity Finger exploded inch by inch. The terrifying sound wave rushed past and continued to rush toward Lu Ming. What terrifying power! Lu Ming's face turned solemn. He quickly retreated, and at the same time, he punched out with both his fists. Illusions of the suppressing prison monuments appeared and blocked in front of him. Bam! Bam! The illusions of the suppressing prison monuments continued to explode. Lu Ming's body trembled. He felt a terrifying force acting on his body, as if it was going to tear his body apart. Even the chaotic light on his body could not withstand it. Lu Ming retreated for 100 miles before he managed to resist this surge of power. Gosh, is this Xinghe's true battle strength? This is too terrifying. Who below the martial emperor realm can defeat him? Lu Ming is going to lose. He is no match for him. Lu Ming's cultivation is still too low. It is difficult for him to overcome the gap in cultivation. Chapter 1979. Everyone was shocked by Xinghe's combat strength. It turned out that he had not used his full strength earlier. Now that he had unleashed his full strength, he was able to push Lu Ming back 100 miles in one move. At this moment, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others looked worried. The situation on their side had improved a lot. With the addition of the Death Blade, the pressure on them was greatly reduced. Ordinary boundary emperors would only be killed by the Death Blade. Until now, many boundary emperors had died at the hands of the Death Blade. Blood was absorbed by the platform, and the blood-red bridge became longer and longer. It extended all the way to the front and disappeared into the depths. No one knew if it could reach the other side. Xinghe stepped into the air and moved toward Lu Ming. His body was enveloped by a large bell that seemed to be transparent. One could clearly see Xinghe's figure. Lu Ming, you are no match for me. In front of eternity, everything is in vain. Kill. Xinghe said indifferently, as if he had turned into a high and mighty deity looking down on the common people. Clang. The eternal divine bell vibrated for the second time, and a terrifying sound wave whizzed out. The space rippled like water, and like thousands of soldiers and horses, it crushed toward Lu Ming. Retreat. Some people behind Lu Ming were shocked. They retreated one after another, afraid that they would be swept in. With their combat strength, if they were swept in, they would definitely be smashed to pieces. Lu Ming's face was solemn. He raised his cultivation to the maximum, and did his best to resist. The Tai Chi disc flew out and suppressed forward. At the same time, the primal chaos finger and hell-suppressing heaven skill were unleashed. But it was useless. The Tai Chi disc was sent flying, and it dimmed. The primal chaos finger and hell-suppressing heaven skill could not block it and were shattered. It was not that the primal chaos finger or hell-suppressing heaven skill were inferior to the other party. It was just that Lu Ming's cultivation was not enough, and there was a gap between them. It was difficult for him to unleash such a strong power. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure retreated again. This time, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Lu Ming, you are not bad to be able to block 2 of my attacks. But today, your fate is sealed. Kill, silence all things. Clang. The eternal god bell vibrated for the 3rd time. This time, it was even more terrifying. The terrifying sound waves actually transformed into an army. They were like the celestial soldiers in the legends, holding divine weapons and riding strange beasts. Their killing intent soared to the heavens as they crushed toward Lu Ming. The entire void was trembling. The attack this time was undoubtedly even more terrifying. Lu Ming was knocked back, spitting out a mouthful of blood. His face was somewhat pale. Among my peers, you are the first one to withstand 3 strikes from my eternal godly bell. Hand over the Celestial Emperor's sword, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Xing Xinhe was incomparably arrogant as his snow-white robe fluttered in the wind. He quickly approached Lu Ming, as if victory was certain. Hee, its power is indeed not bad, but it's still not enough. Lu Ming chuckled. At this moment, his eyes were cold. It seemed like he had no choice but to give it a try. Now, he could only borrow more power from his third bloodline. The third bloodline was too strange. Lu Ming had always avoided borrowing the power of the third bloodline, but now, he had no choice but to do so. Come, power. A ferocious look flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. Boom! A surge of crimson energy roared wildly and rushed into Lu Ming's body. Roar! Lu Ming roared. His voice was like that of a wild beast. Terrifying murderous intent erupted and shrouded the surroundings. Xing Xinhe's face changed abruptly when he was hit by the killing intent. The killing intent gave him the feeling that he was facing an incomparably powerful and crazy existence. It was as if he was going to slaughter all living things and destroy everything. Pest. At this moment, Lu Ming's body swelled and bone spikes protruded from his body. It made Lu Ming look a little ferocious, like a demon that had walked out from purgatory. Even Huang Ling, Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang, and the rest were a little shocked. They had never seen Lu Ming in such a state. Xing Xinhe, watch me break your broken bell. Lu Ming roared. His eyes were full of ferocious and endless killing intent. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation was not what it used to be. Although his killing intent was endless, he had not lost his mind. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure flashed like a phantom. The next moment, he appeared in front of the stellar river. Almost no one saw how Lu Ming moved. It was too fast. Swoosh! Lu Ming's claws clawed out. At this moment, Lu Ming's nails had become much longer. They were like sharp blades as he clawed at Xing Xinhe. Xing Xinhe's face changed and he quickly attacked. Clang! The eternal divine bell vibrated and a more terrifying sound wave than before rushed out. The sound wave collided with Lu Ming's claws and made a harsh sound. In the end, Lu Ming roared and tore with his hands. The sound wave was broken by Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming approached Xing Xinhe and threw out a punch. Dong! This punch landed on the eternal divine bell and a terrifying force burst out. The eternal divine bell vibrated violently. Xing Xinhe's face changed and his body was sent flying like a cannonball. Swoosh! Lu Ming took a step in the void and the void vibrated. Lu Ming's figure dashed out and caught up with Xing Xinhe. Both his fists bombarded him like a storm. Shake! Xing Xinhe roared and the eternal divine bell vibrated again. A terrifying sound wave rushed out. This time, the sound wave was even more terrifying. Ordinary Emperor-to-be would die no matter how many of them came. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's fists were covered with a layer of blood-red energy. It was indestructible and there was nothing it could not break. It collided with the sound wave and finally, the sound wave was destroyed. Then, he threw out punch after punch on the eternal divine bell. Kacha! The eternal divine bell was Xing Xinhe's divine skill formed by the eternal law. At this moment, cracks appeared on it. Moreover, Lu Ming's fist force continued to bombard the eternal divine bell. More and more cracks appeared on the eternal divine bell. In the end, it exploded with a bang. Xing Xinhe's face turned pale. He vomited blood and retreated. However, Lu Ming's speed was shocking. He caught up with Xing Xinhe in an instant and continued to attack violently. Xing Xinhe took out his emperor-level battle sword again and exerted all his strength to slash out sword light. However, he could not stop Lu Ming at all. At this moment, Lu Ming had borrowed the power of the third bloodline and was almost at his limit. Lu Ming could barely retain a trace of consciousness. If he continued to borrow the power of the third bloodline, Lu Ming would be drowned by endless murderous intent and become a killing puppet. It could be seen that Lu Ming's current power was very violent. In just a few moves, Xing Xinhe was sent flying and vomited blood. In the distance, Luo Zhangqiong was almost scared to death. What kind of monster was Lu Ming? He could even defeat Xing Xinhe. He was simply invincible. No, when we get out, I must ask grandfather to send experts to kill him. He must be killed. Chapter 1980. Luo Zhangqiong was shocked, not to mention the others, who were even more horrified. Heng Xinghe was defeated. He was not defeated by an elder, nor was he defeated by a group of people. He was defeated by another young man in a head-on confrontation. Heng Xinghe, the #1 genius of Yuan Mountain, was an invincible legend. Today, his legend was shattered. Of course, it was accompanied by the birth of another legend. If what happened today were to spread out, the entire Yuan Mountain would be shaken. In particular, the people of the Heng family seemed to have lost their faith and were terrified. Heng Xinghe was the representative of the Heng family and the pride of the Heng family. Since Heng Xinghe started cultivating, he had been undefeated among his peers. But today, he was defeated. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the quasi-emperors on their side were ecstatic. Lu Ming defeated Heng Xinghe, and the situation could be completely reversed. He just borrowed some kind of secret technique. Who knows if Lu Ming will become a cripple or his strength will be greatly damaged after this secret technique. What's the use of a momentary victory? Luo Zhangqiong said very unhappily, and his voice spread throughout the place. Of course, he was getting further and further away from Lu Ming, and was ready to escape at any time. Luo Zhangqiong's words made many people's eyes flash. Indeed, Lu Ming's state was obviously due to the use of some kind of terrifying secret technique. Such a secret technique actually increased Lu Ming's strength by so much, and the after-effects were absolutely shocking. It might be exaggerated to say that he would directly become a cripple, but if his origin was damaged, it would affect his future cultivation. In that case, Lu Ming would no longer be a match for Heng Xinghe. Some people who had a grudge against Lu Ming prayed in their hearts, hoping that this would be the case. At this moment, Lu Ming was too lazy to pay attention to the voices of the outside world. He continued to rush towards Heng Xinghe. At this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent was surging. He didn't care if Heng Xinghe was an eternal son or not, he would kill him first. Heng Xinghe's face was ugly, but he didn't dare to confront Lu Ming at all. He turned into a rainbow light and rushed towards the giant blood-red bridge. Whoosh! Lu Ming followed closely behind, also rushing towards the giant blood-red bridge. Could it be that the giant bridge has already reached the other side of the abyss? Heng Xinghe must know something. Now that he is rushing towards the bridge, he must have reached the other side and entered the 9th world. Let's go too. Charge! Others also rushed toward the giant bridge, including the quasi-emperors of the Heng family, the Daluo Heaven sect, and the Golden Crow clan. The originally intense chaotic battle also stopped at this moment. The black mass of people all surged onto the giant bridge and rushed forward. We're going too. Ouyang Wushuang, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the rest led a group of experts and rushed toward the giant bridge. After they entered the bridge, the Great Development Pill Furnace shrunk rapidly and flew towards Lu Ming. It flew into the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows and disappeared. The bridge was extremely long and wide, and it led straight into the depths of the mountain. The stellar river was at the forefront at an astonishing speed, but Lu Ming was still closing the distance between them. Soon after, they saw that the bridge was passing through a thick fog. Many people were shocked. Could it be that behind the fog was the 9th world? The 9th world could not be directly entered from the outside. It was said to be the world where the immortals lived. What was in it? Heng Xinghe was the first to rush into the fog, but Lu Ming followed closely behind. After Lu Ming rushed into the fog, he found that he had come to a void. Yes, a void. There was no land here, just like the starry sky of the universe. He was suspended in the void. Heng Xinghe was not far away, but at this time, he seemed to be stunned and looked ahead in a daze. Lu Ming could not help but look over as well. At one glance, his heart trembled violently and he was stunned. In the void in front of him, there was a figure sitting there with his legs crossed. But the figure was too big and too majestic. This person was taller than any mountain. Just sitting there, he was like a planet in the vast universe. In front of him, people were as small as dust. But most importantly, this was a stone man. It was like an incomparably huge stone statue, but it was vivid and lifelike. This was a young man who looked to be in his 30s. He closed his eyes and sat cross-legged in the void, but he gave off a peerless and unparalleled feeling. What shocked Lu Ming the most was that he had seen the appearance of this stone man before. Back then, two great emperors fought at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. In the end, the great emperor fell and the Heavenly Emperor Mountain changed. At that time, a figure condensed in the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. He was in his 30s and looked to be the figure of the Heavenly Emperor. The stone man in front of him looked exactly the same as the figure that appeared at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Could this be the statue of the Heavenly Emperor? Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, people were constantly passing through the fog and appearing in this void. But when they saw the huge stone man, they were stunned and shocked. Heavenly Emperor, this is the Heavenly Emperor. A statue of the Heavenly Emperor? No, it's the body, the Heavenly Emperor's body. In the end, a great emperor of the Heng family could not hold back the shock in his heart and roared out. Everyone's heart was violently shaken and surged with stormy waves. The Heavenly Emperor's body? This was the Heavenly Emperor's body. Legend had it that the Heavenly Emperor had fallen in the distant past. Could this really be the body left behind after the Heavenly Emperor had fallen? It was highly possible. There were many ancient ruins in the world of the lotus. Some places seemed to have suppressed terrifying creatures. If it was not the Heavenly Emperor, who could have done it? In the distant past, for some unknown reason, the Heavenly Emperor had suppressed some powerful creatures here and died. His body was left here, sitting in the ninth world. No wonder one could not enter the ninth world directly. No wonder there were legends in other worlds that the ninth world was inhabited by immortals. Immortals were the Heavenly Emperor. And Lu Ming thought of more. He thought of that Heavenly Emperor sword, which was also a stone sword. The sword was made of stone, and now this huge body was also made of stone. What was the connection between them? Could it really be the Heavenly Emperor's body? Could it be that the Heavenly Emperor was not a human, but a strange life form? At this moment, the eyes of countless people burst out with blazing flames. That was the fire of greed. If this huge stone man was really the Heavenly Emperor's body, then its value was unimaginable. That was the Heavenly Emperor. Now, the Heavenly Emperor was simply a legend, and the great emperors were the peak powerhouses. A great emperor could almost dominate a region, be invincible, and control the great Tao. As for the Heavenly Emperor, it was even more unimaginable. Legend had it that the Heavenly Emperor was almost the same as the Heavenly Tao. Moreover, the Great Tribulation did not affect the Heavenly Emperor and he was truly immortal. When one became a Heavenly Emperor, there would be no Great Tribulation of heaven and earth, and they would truly live as long as heaven and earth. Such a person was unimaginably strong. The value of the body left behind by such a person could be imagined. Regardless of whether it was true or not, it could not be missed. Whoosh! Chapter 1981. The Heavenly Emperor's physical body was too shocking and tempting. Regardless of whether it was real or not, they had to give it a try. Even a piece of the Heavenly Emperor's body would be priceless. If they brought it out, even martial emperors would be envious. One figure after another charged forward. The heavenly emperor's physical body is mine. Whoever touches it will die. Xing He shouted as he turned into a beam of sword light and slashed out. Pooh! Pooh! As the sword light slashed down, blood splattered everywhere. Heads flew out one after another. In an instant, more than 10 quasi-emperors were killed by Xing He. The difference between an ordinary quasi-emperor and a stellar river was too great. They would be killed in an instant, unable to resist at all. The river of laws was easily sliced apart. The other quasi-emperors were shocked and flew far away. Xing He was too domineering. Xing He, the battle between us is not over yet. Let's continue. Lu Ming's blood-red hair fluttered as killing intent surged. His eyes were blood-red as he stepped towards Xing He. Aside from those who were close to Lu Ming, no one dared to step within a certain range of him. When Xing He saw Lu Ming coming over, his expression turned unsightly. He turned into a beam of light and charged towards the huge stone man. Form a formation and block him with the emperor weapon. Xing He's voice rang out. The quasi-emperors of the Han clan moved. Their figures flickered as they formed a mysterious formation. Some of them had emperor weapons, so they took them out. Clearly, quasi-emperors could not bring out the full power of emperor weapons. However, when many of them gathered together and formed a formation, the power was very terrifying. Whoosh! Whoosh! Beams of sword qi tore through the air towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming punched out a few times, causing the void to tremble and shattering those sword qi. However, following that, more sword qi slashed towards him. Most of the people of the Han clan cultivated the eternal spring law, which emphasized on continuous attacks. Boundless sword qi continuously blasted towards Lu Ming, blocking Lu Ming's path. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, he would not be able to charge out in a short time. Meanwhile, Xing He was rapidly approaching the stone man. He was very fast, and the others were lagging behind. Whoosh! A beam of death light slashed out violently, blocking a large amount of sword qi. Lu Ming, you go after the stellar river. I'll block them for you here. Death Blade stepped through the air, and the curtain of death enveloped the area, blocking a large area of sword light. Lu Ming glanced at Death Blade with his blood-red eyes. Without saying anything, he shot up into the sky and turned into a beam of blood-red light as he chased after Death Blade. They saw that the stone golem didn't seem to be far from them, but as they flew, they knew that they were very far from it. That was because the stone golem was simply too big. In the void, streaks of rainbow light flew towards the giant stone man like shooting stars. Xing He was far in the lead, but Lu Ming was in hot pursuit, slowly closing in. This flight lasted for half an hour. With their speed, they flew for half an hour. It was easy to imagine how far the distance was. At this moment, they finally approached the giant stone man. By then, Lu Ming and Stellar River had already left the rest far behind. They were far ahead of the rest. Lu Ming had already closed in on Stellar River. Damn it, what secret technique is this guy using? It hasn't disappeared yet. Xing He roared in his heart. Lu Ming's body was covered in blood-red light, and his aura was still strong. Ordinary secret techniques wouldn't be able to sustain such a powerful battle prowess for so long. But now, Lu Ming seemed to be fine. He unleashed all his strength and rushed towards the giant stone man. He had a feeling that the blood in his body was boiling, as if he was close to the giant stone man. It was as if the stone man was related to him by blood. It must be the ancestor of the Han family, it must be. Xing He roared in his heart. The closer he got to the giant stone man, the stronger his feeling became. He felt that as long as he flew to the stone man, he would be able to get the stone man. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes revealed a look of surprise. Because in his sea of consciousness, the stone sword, which was the sword of the heavenly emperor, was constantly vibrating and buzzing. It seemed to be resonating with the stone man. The stone sword, maybe it really is the sword of the Heavenly Emperor, the sword of this stone man. A thought flashed in Lu Ming's mind, but he didn't slow down and gradually approached Xing He. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch, and a terrifying fist light blasted towards Xing He. Eternal Divine Bell. Xing He shouted and unleashed all his strength, and another Eternal Divine Bell enveloped him. The Eternal Divine Bell vibrated, and a terrifying sound wave rushed towards Lu Ming, but it was broken by Lu Ming's punch. Clang! Clang! Xing He flew towards the stone man while vibrating the Eternal Divine Bell. The terrifying sound wave turned into various fierce attacks and rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's attack was simple. He used the hell-suppressing heaven skill, and punched out to break the sound wave, and slowly approached Xing He. The two fought while flying, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 blows. Boom! Boom! A few fist lights broke through Xing He's sound wave and bombarded Xing He's Eternal Divine Bell, causing it to vibrate and cracks to appear on it. Xing He's face turned ugly, and he gritted his teeth and rushed towards the stone man. In the past, no one in the same generation could break his Eternal Divine Bell, but today, it was broken by Lu Ming. When I become a Boundary Emperor, I will definitely kill you. Xing He roared in his heart, and he was accidentally punched again. His body trembled, and he almost vomited blood. At this moment, they were very close to the stone man. After getting closer, they realized that the stone man was really too big and majestic. They were probably only the size of a strand of the stone man's hair. Right at this moment, a shocking scene appeared. The stone golem suddenly opened its eyes. This scene made the hearts of Lu Ming, Xing He, and the others jump. The stone man opened his eyes. Was the Heavenly Emperor not dead? If that was true, it would be a big deal. The stone man opened his eyes, only to see that his 2 eyeballs were like 2 abysses, pitch black. The next moment, 2 rays of light shot out of the stone man's eyes, condensing into a figure in front of Lu Ming and Xing He. Wearing a long robe, unparalleled in style, around 30 years old, with a kind of domineering spirit. Wasn't it the image of the Heavenly Emperor? At this moment, everyone seemed to have forgotten to breathe, dumbfounded. The Heavenly Emperor was really not dead? Han family descendant pays respect to the Heavenly Emperor Patriarch. Xing Xinghe suppressed the shock on his face and bowed. Junior Lu Ming pays respect to the Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming also cupped his fists and bowed. No matter what, the Heavenly Emperor was a senior expert, so it was normal to bow. Greetings to the Heavenly Emperor. The others also bowed to the Heavenly Emperor from afar. The Heavenly Emperor swept his gaze across everyone and said, "No need to be so polite, I've already fallen. What's left now is merely a wisp of imprint, like a candle in the wind, that can be extinguished at any time." These words made people's hearts tremble greatly. Chapter 1982. The Heavenly Emperor had fallen and only left behind an imprint, then how did he die? This was the Heavenly Emperor, a peerless and invincible existence. Who could kill him? Could it be a Heavenly Emperor realm figure? Everyone's heart was full of doubts. You guys are here for my physical body, right? At this moment, the Heavenly Emperor spoke again. Everyone's face suddenly turned pale. Now that the Heavenly Emperor imprint had appeared, how would they dare to speak the truth? Even if the Heavenly Emperor only had a wisp of imprint left, killing them was probably just a thought away. Lu Ming didn't make a sound, and neither did Xing Xinghe. The gaze of the Heavenly Emperor imprint finally fell on Lu Ming and Xing Xinghe, saying, "Both of you are somewhat related to me. If you want to force your way forward, I will not stop you." Xing Xinghe's eyes lit up, and he glanced at Lu Ming indifferently. The Heavenly Emperor imprint actually said that Lu Ming was somewhat related to the Heavenly Emperor imprint, which made him think of the Heavenly Emperor's sword. "I am the descendant of the Heavenly Emperor, this Heavenly Emperor's physical body is mine." Xing Xinghe roared in his heart. "However, I have to remind you." At this moment, the Heavenly Emperor imprint continued to speak, but his expression became very serious, saying, "Since you can come here, I will not stop you. As long as you go forward, you can obtain the Heavenly Emperor's physical body. However, this will cause a huge change. The land of Yuan Mountain will be plunged into misery and suffering, blood will flow like a river. Countless people will fall, including your family and friends. A thought will affect the life and death of countless people, you have to think carefully." Lu Ming's face changed. Going forward will cause a huge change, people will be plunged into misery and suffering, blood will flow like a river, and even his family and friends will be affected. How could this be? Not only him, but the others' faces also changed drastically. The Heavenly Emperor imprint wouldn't speak without thinking. Various thoughts flashed through everyone's mind. "I will give you 10 breaths of time to consider. If you don't go forward, then retreat," the Heavenly Emperor imprint said. Lu Ming didn't think too much, shook his head slightly, and stepped back. He had cultivated all his life, and although he had the idea of stepping onto the peak of martial arts, more than that, he wanted to have powerful strength to determine his own fate and protect his family and friends. If his family and friends were in danger because of the Celestial Emperor's body, Lu Ming would rather not have it. This was not his path of martial arts. Bang! Lu Ming retreated, but Heng Xinghe stepped forward. "Have you thought it through?" the Heavenly Emperor's imprint asked. "What does the life and death of others have to do with me? As long as I reach the peak and become eternal, everything will be worth it." Xing Xinhe's indifferent voice sounded. In his heart, there was only himself. The lives of others, even those of his family, were worth it as long as they could fulfill his wish. Selfish people will never amount to anything. Huang Ling said hatefully from the crowd. But this kind of person is also very terrifying. Luo Tianyi said. This kind of person only cared about himself and did not consider anything else. He would do anything by fair means or foul. It was indeed terrifying. Bang! Bang! Xing Xinhe continued to step forward, his body moving faster and faster. He seemed to be attracted by a mysterious force as he flew towards the stone man with extreme speed. The next moment, Xinghe's body actually entered the stone man's body and disappeared. Sigh. The Celestial Emperor's mark sighed, as if a little disappointed. Then, his body collapsed and disappeared. Buzz. At that moment, a terrifying aura rippled from the incomparably huge stone man's body. Wisps of faint light spread out from the stone man's body. Crack. The next moment, the stone man seemed to move, and there was a cracking sound. What's going on? The Celestial Emperor's body moved. Am I seeing things? It did move. His arm is moving. Oh my God, how can the Celestial Emperor's body move? Could it be that Heng Xinghe has integrated into the Celestial Emperor's body and is controlling it? Someone shouted in shock. Lu Ming's expression changed abruptly. He retreated rapidly and hollered, "Retreat, retreat quickly." Boom! At that moment, a terrifying aura erupted from the Celestial Emperor's body. This aura was as vast as the sky and unfathomable. It was like the heavenly Tao that could not be resisted. This was the pressure of the Celestial Emperor. The eyes of the Celestial Emperor's body looked in Lu Ming's direction, filled with a cold light. Lu Ming, today is the day you die. A voice came from the Celestial Emperor's body, filled with icy killing intent. It was Heng Xinghe's voice. Lu Ming's expression was very gloomy. He had not expected that going forward would actually integrate into the Celestial Emperor's body and control it. He had thought that he had only obtained it. If he had known earlier, he would have stopped Heng Xinghe even if he did not want the Celestial Emperor's body. Now, he could only retreat. Lu Ming retreated hurriedly. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang, and the others also retreated frantically. Lu Ming, you can't escape. Heng Xinghe's voice sounded again. Boom! The Celestial Emperor's body suddenly stood up. An unimaginably terrifying aura erupted and enveloped the entire ninth world. Everyone was unable to move under this power, including Lu Ming. Roar. Lu Ming seemed to hear a terrifying roar erupting from his third bloodline. It seemed to be very unhappy, but it seemed to be suppressed by a powerful force. Only Lu Ming could hear this roar. Lu Ming, you're still far from being able to fight me. Heng Xinghe's voice sounded again. The Celestial Emperor's body stood in the air, as tall as the sky. A terrifying aura constantly pervaded toward Lu Ming. Then, the Celestial Emperor's body stretched out a large hand and grabbed toward Lu Ming. The large hand covered the sky and was boundlessly powerful. There was no way to escape or resist it. Lu Ming, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others were shocked, their expressions ugly. However, at that moment, Lu Ming looked surprised. This was because the Celestial Emperor's sword in his spiritual sea was vibrating frantically and emitting a mysterious light. Buzz! The next moment, the Celestial Emperor's sword rushed out of the spiritual scene suspended above Lu Ming's head, rapidly enlarging. Soon, an incomparably huge sword appeared. The aura it emitted was equally earth-shattering and appalling. That's the Celestial Emperor's sword. Many people shouted in shock. The Celestial Emperor's sword had appeared. Was it going to duel with the Celestial Emperor's body? Slash. With a thought, Lu Ming slashed the Celestial Emperor's sword violently, slashing toward the Celestial Emperor's palm. Boom! A terrifying roar erupted, and the world shook. Many people's expressions changed drastically. Their bodies shook violently, and they staggered back, blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. After the collision, the Celestial Emperor's sword flew back and suspended above Lu Ming's head. The huge Celestial Emperor's body also took a few steps back. The Celestial Emperor's sword is mine. I am the descendant of the Celestial Emperor, Lu Ming. What right do you have to wield the Celestial Emperor's sword? Give it to me. Chapter 1983. Xinghe controlled the Heavenly Emperor's body and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Slash. Lu Ming whispered and slashed out with the Heavenly Emperor's sword. There was another terrifying roar. The Heavenly Emperor's sword and the Heavenly Emperor's body were both pushed back. What they didn't know was that there was a shocking change in the world of the Lotus. The moment the Heavenly Emperor's body stood up, there seemed to be an invisible force rippling out and spreading to the other 8 worlds. Roar! Roar! At this moment, some of the most ancient ruins in the 8 worlds let out a shocking roar. For example, the Time God Island in the 10,000 Seas realm roared and the power of time swept across the sky. At the bottom of the cave in the 10,000 Beasts realm, the roar was even more shocking. Some people were still taking the risk and were directly injured by the roar and died. It was the same in the other worlds. It was as if a supreme demon was about to come into being. Outside the world of the Lotus, under the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, crowds of people had gathered from all directions. Of course, most of them were below the absolute saint level. However, there were also many elites above the martial emperor level. There were even a few figures standing at the highest point, surrounded by divine light. It was shocking. Those were a few great emperors. Everyone was waiting patiently. Those who had entered the world of the Lotus had been there for a long time. They didn't know what had happened or what kind of opportunities they had obtained. Many were envious and looked forward to it. Boom! At this moment, a powerful light suddenly burst out from the cave in the world of the Lotus and shot into the sky. However, the light then disappeared. The entire cave became dark. Even the projection of the Lotus in the sky disappeared without a trace. The power of the Lotus has disappeared. One of the great emperors exclaimed in shock. What? The others were also shocked. The power of the Lotus had disappeared. Didn't that mean that people above the martial emperor level could enter? Many martial emperors' eyes shone with a blazing light. Roar! Roar! However, at this moment, a terrifying roar came from the cave. It was as if a supreme demon was roaring or a supreme demon was about to come into being. It was too terrifying. What's going on? What's this? What's in the world of the lotus? How could there be such a terrifying voice? Could it be that the people who entered earlier encountered these existences? Many people's expressions turned ugly. The great emperor's faces were solemn. The blocking force has indeed disappeared. Let's go in and take a look. It was Emperor Wuxiang's voice. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and rushed into the cave. Great emperors from the Han family, He family, and Daluo Heaven's sect rushed into the cave. As soon as Emperor Wuxiang and the others entered the cave, they appeared in the sky above the world of the lotus. Although there was a force in the world of the lotus that was trying to draw them into one of the petals, the great emperors were so powerful that they could resist this force and choose which petal to enter. Emperor Wuxiang took a step forward and charged into one of the petals. The other three great emperors also rushed into different petals. The true emperors and void emperors outside looked greedy. This was the remains of the celestial emperor. How could they not be moved? Even if there were terrifying roars coming from below, they would not retreat. One by one, they rushed into the cave. At this moment, a few figures flashed across the sky. They were incredibly fast and rushed into the cave with the martial emperors. No one could see their faces clearly. These emperor-level experts entered different flower petals. The world that Emperor Wuxiang entered was the Infinite Seas realm that Lu Ming had entered earlier. As soon as he appeared in the Infinite Seas realm, he looked in the direction of the Time Spiritual Island. Then, the space cracked open and he stepped into it. In the next moment, the space outside the Time Spiritual Island cracked open and Emperor Wuxiang appeared. Roar! A terrifying roar came from the Time Spiritual Island. What a strong power of time! There's such a powerful being sealed here. Could it have been left behind by the Celestial Emperor? Emperor Wuxiang muttered. His eyes were like stars that could see through everything as he looked into the depths of the Divine Light Spiritual Island. In his eyes, nothing could hide. He could clearly see the living beings below the sacred mountain of time. Emperor Wuxiang's face changed suddenly. It's the evil god tribe. Emperor Wuxiang's face was gloomy as he muttered, "Since I've met you, I'll destroy you completely." Just as he was about to make a move, he suddenly looked into the distance and shouted, "Who is it?" Rip! The space there suddenly cracked open and a few voices stepped out. These figures were completely shrouded in dark demonic light and emitted a terrifying aura. One of them had an aura that was not weaker than Emperor Wuxiang's. He was actually a peak great emperor. "Wuxiang, long time no see. How have you been?" That emperor realm expert spoke. "Mo Ling and Xia Ling, it's you." Emperor Wuxiang's cold voice sounded. If anyone else was here, they would be very shocked. This was because Mo Ling was the legendary sect leader of the demon spirit religion. Many years ago, he was active in the vicinity of Celestial City. He was an incomparably terrifying force that specialized in killing martial emperors or those with the potential to become martial emperors. As for Xia Ling, he was the sect leader of the demon spirit religion. Although he was not a great emperor, he was still an existence that stood at the peak of the true emperor realm. The leaders of these powerful and evil forces had arrived at this place at the same time. "Xia Ling, you guys go and destroy the seal. Leave Elder Wuxiang to me." The demon spirit religion sect leader's voice sounded. His body moved and turned into a terrifying demonic light that charged toward Emperor Wuxiang. "You are indeed from the evil god tribe. You want to let the evil god tribe out? Don't even think about it." Emperor Wuxiang shouted angrily. His aura erupted as he blasted out a palm. A terrifying palm print blasted toward the evil spirit religion sect leader and the others who were rushing toward the time sacred island. "Wuxiang, your opponent is me." The demon spirit religion sect leader's demonic aura soared into the sky. A terrifying demonic saber slashed out violently, splitting the sky into two halves and blocking Emperor Wuxiang's palm print. Scram! Emperor Wuxiang blasted out a series of palm prints. With the addition of the Great Tao, every palm print had the power to destroy the world. However, the demon spirit religion sect leader was also a great emperor. He was in the same realm as Emperor Wuxiang, and his battle strength was also terrifying. The demonic saber swept out and blocked Emperor Wuxiang's attacks. Boom! Boom! On the other side, the evil spirit religion sect leader and the others had successfully rushed into the time-sacred mountain and destroyed the remaining 2 ancient altars. Roar! At the bottom of the time-sacred mountain, the huge figure roared loudly. Its aura was violent and shocking, and it rushed out like a raging wave. The entire divine light sacred mountain exploded, sending rubble flying everywhere. Clang! Chapter 1984. The huge figure struggled and pulled the chains. The time divine island shook, and huge cracks appeared in some places. The entire time divine island was on the verge of collapse. Come and help me break this damn demon-suppressing chain, the huge figure said. Yes, my lord. The evil spirit sect leader and the others bowed in response. Then, they unleashed terrifying attacks at the chains. Clang! 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 The cultivation of these figures was very terrifying. Although they had not reached the great emperor realm, they were not far away. All kinds of attacks fell, and the chains shook and sparks flew. With the help of the enormous figure, one of the chains snapped with a loud clang. Ha ha ha, I am finally going to be born. Hang you didn't kill me back then and used my power to suppress the void passage. In the end, you were too smart for your own good. I will make you regret it. Ha ha ha. The huge figure laughed crazily, and his aura was even more shocking. He struggled violently. Although Emperor Wuxiang was anxious, he was entangled by the demon spirit sect leader and could not stop him. Clang! Clang! The sound of chains snapping could be heard. 8 consecutive snapping sounds could be heard. Following that, a terrifying aura soared into the sky, causing the sky to shake. Boom! At this moment, the entire time island began to crumble as a gigantic figure stepped out from it. As he stepped out, his figure began to shrink. Finally, he became the size of a normal person and revealed his true appearance. It was a middle-aged man with dark skin. He was naked, and the aura he exuded was extremely shocking. He was no weaker than Emperor Wuxiang and the demon spirit sect leader. He was also a great emperor realm elite. Boom! The middle-aged man threw a punch at Emperor Wuxiang. Emperor Wuxiang blocked with his palm and fought with the demon spirit sect leader and the middle-aged man. Although the middle-aged man had been sealed for countless years and was not as powerful as he was in his prime, he was still a great emperor. When he joined forces with the demon spirit sect leader, Emperor Wuxiang was at a disadvantage. In another world, the myriad beast realm. In the cave where Lu Ming had obtained 2 of the 9 sealed scrolls, a figure descended. This person's aura was extremely shocking. He was also a great emperor. Moreover, it was not the great emperor of the He family, the great emperor of the Hang family, or the Daluo Heaven sect. It was an unfamiliar great emperor. A giant saber appeared in his hand. With a slash, the entire cave was split in half. Roar! An excited roar came from the bottom of the cave, causing the iron chains to collide with each other. Quick, help me break the chains. Excited voices came from the depths of the cave. The man in the air once again slashed out with his giant saber. A few saber lights chopped down, and the sound of chains breaking could be heard. Roar! Then, a loud roar rang out, and the ground exploded. An incomparably huge lizard crawled out from the depths of the ground. It was like a giant beast that had come from the primordial era. It was incomparably terrifying. This giant lizard was actually a great emperor-level existence. Let's go to the other worlds and save the others. The space cracked open. He and the giant lizard stepped into the space and arrived in another world. The Han clan's great emperor was in one of the most ancient ruins in this world. A powerful creature is sealed here. The Han family's great emperor's face was gloomy. Suddenly, the space cracked open, and the giant lizard and the great emperor expert arrived. A great battle broke out. The great emperor blocked the Han clan's great emperor while the giant lizard rescued the powerful existences in the ruins. As a result, the Han clan's great emperor did not dare to continue the battle and retreated. As for the other three powerhouses, they continued to head to other worlds to rescue the sealed powerhouses. The number of people on the other side was increasing. The great emperor of the He clan and the Daluo Heaven Sect's great emperors were frightened and did not dare to stop them. Not long after, the powerful existences in the 8 ancient ruins in the 8 worlds were all rescued. All of them were great emperor realm creatures. This was definitely a terrifying and boundless power, horrifying to the extreme. Return to the 8 worlds. Move the worlds away, open the void passageways, and welcome my tribe. A voice rang out. It turned out that the experts who were sealed had all returned to their original worlds. In the Infinite Seas realm, at the time God Island, Great Emperor Wuxiang was at a disadvantage. Suddenly, the middle-aged man retreated, returning to the Time God Island. Shocking fluctuations erupted from him, and a pillar of light shot up into the sky. At that moment, the entire Infinite Seas realm was shaken. In the bright fire country of the vast seas realm, Ruan Tianjiao stood above the palace and looked at the sky with a grave expression. He whispered, "Heaven and earth are shaking and roaring. What happened to this world? Is it related to the extraterrestrials? Lu Ming, what happened to you?" Not only Ruan Tianjiao, but everyone in the Infinite Seas realm and other worlds looked up at the sky, their faces pale with fear. They felt as if a great disaster was about to befall them. In the 9th world, Lu Ming controlled the Celestial Emperor's sword and fought with the Celestial Emperor's body controlled by Xing He. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Suddenly, a terrifying roar was heard, as if it came from beyond the sky. The roar came one after another with shocking power. Many people's faces changed drastically, not knowing what was happening. "Lu Ming, the Celestial Emperor's sword is mine. Hand it over." Xing He roared, and the Celestial Emperor's body rushed toward Lu Ming again. In his eyes, the Celestial Emperor's body and the Celestial Emperor's sword were his. Lu Ming was not qualified to control them. Clang! Lu Ming controlled the Celestial Emperor's sword and fought with his opponent. After more than 10 blows, they were still in a stalemate. Rumble! Suddenly, heaven and earth roared, and the entire sky shook violently. It was as if the entire world was being moved. Buzz! Buzz! At that moment, the Celestial Emperor's sword and the Celestial Emperor's body shook involuntarily and emitted a resplendent radiance. The next moment, a figure flew out of the Celestial Emperor's body. It was Xing He. "What's going on?" Xing He roared. The Celestial Emperor's sword above Lu Ming's head vibrated and flew out. The Celestial Emperor's body held it in his hand. "What should have happened has happened in the end, but I can't ignore it." The Celestial Emperor's body actually spoke. After saying that, he took a step forward, and the incomparably huge figure suddenly disappeared. "No, my Celestial Emperor's body," Xing He roared, extremely indignant. He found it hard to accept that the Celestial Emperor's body had suddenly left him. With the Celestial Emperor's body, he could instantly become a top expert in the world, an overlord of a region. Martial artists rely on themselves. Only when they are strong can they be the strongest. It's ridiculous to only think about external things. Lu Ming was still calm. Since the Celestial Emperor's sword had flown away, then so be it. The road to the top could not be sustained by relying on a sword. Only by improving oneself would it be a power that belonged to oneself forever. "Lu Ming, damn it," Xing He shouted coldly. He blamed everything on Lu Ming. Chapter 1985. I think you're the one who should die. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he stepped out and headed toward Xinghe. Xinghe's expression changed. He did not have the celestial emperor body now and was no match for Lu Ming. He retreated hurriedly and roared, "Lu Ming, you don't need to rely on external forces, right? If you have the ability, fight me with your own strength." "Sure, let's fight at the same level," Lu Ming said. "You," Xinghe gritted his teeth. He had no confidence in fighting Lu Ming at the same level. He might even lose miserably. How could he agree? "You're 2 levels higher than me, yet you're asking me to fight with my own strength. It's ridiculous that I don't dare to fight at the same level." Lu Ming sneered and mocked him. Xinghe's eyes were very cold. If he could, he would have chopped Lu Ming into pieces. But now, he could only escape. Buzz. Suddenly, the void vibrated. A powerful force suddenly descended and enveloped everyone. The next moment, the world spun and their figures disappeared from the 9th world. Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in the sky above the Lotus World, in the huge underground cave. Figures constantly flashed out. Huang Ling, Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang, Luo Tianyi, and the others had all come out. Of course, Luo Zhangxiong, Xinghe, and the others had also come out. Not only them, but the people who were exploring other worlds were all teleported out by a powerful force. "Look, what's that? The 9 worlds are moving. A vortex has appeared in the heart of the lotus," someone shouted. Lu Ming and the others looked down and were shocked. From their vantage point, they could clearly see what was going on below. At this moment, the 9 petals of the lotus flower were slowly moving outward. A vortex had appeared in the heart of the lotus flower. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, a terrifying roar came from the vortex. Then, 2 huge claws stretched out of the vortex. The claws had sharp nails and were covered with scales. They looked very ferocious. Then, the 2 pairs of claws grabbed one side of the vortex, as if they were trying to push the vortex to make it bigger. A shocking scene appeared. The whirlpool was actually slowly expanding. Then, 2 gigantic creatures poked their heads out of the whirlpool. The claw from before was from them. "This is..." Lu Ming's pupils constricted sharply. Lu Ming was all too familiar with this kind of living creature. They were covered in scales and had a 3rd eye between their eyebrows. Could this vortex lead to the world of the 3-eyed divine race? The race is invading. Lu Ming's mind was racing and his heart was extremely heavy. When he was young and weak, he followed the ancient Desolation City to a small island in the Heaven Realm by mistake. That was the first time he came into contact with the 3-eyed god tribe. During the Battle of Providence, when he first saw the Titan Longhorn Beetle, and later during the Primordial Chaos sex assessment. At the same time, he learned more about the race of the 3-eyed divine race. The race of the 3-eyed divine race did not belong to the Heaven Realm or the Primordial Realm. They were from another world. However, countless years ago, they had attacked the Heaven Realm, causing a great war in the Heaven Realm. Countless experts had fallen. Dandan had said that the final battle would come soon. It was also related to the race of the 3-eyed divine race. Could it be that the race of the 3-eyed divine race was going to attack now? He finally understood what the mark of the Heavenly Emperor meant. It was referring to the invasion of the race of the 3-eyed divine race. Roar! Roar! These 2 races of the 3-eyed divine race were completely different from the ones Lu Ming had encountered before. They were too burly and huge. They supported the vortex and made it bigger and bigger. "Kill your way to the primordial realm. Our race will rule the world." A series of roars could be heard from the vortex, causing everyone's expression to change. "What is this?" Someone's voice trembled. Could it be that the previous 9 worlds were suppressing this passage? Someone guessed with an ugly expression. At this moment, the space above the heart of the lotus split open, and a huge figure appeared. It was the celestial Thearcha's physical body. Looking from this direction, the celestial Thearch's physical body seemed to be about the same size as the huge race of the three-eyed divine race. Race of the evil gods, scram back to your world. The celestial Thearch's physical body shouted, holding the celestial arch sword in his hand and slashing down violently. Poof! One of the huge race of the three-eyed divine race's arms was chopped off by the celestial arch sword. Roar! The race of the three-eyed divine race roared, and the third eye between its brows shot out a ray of destructive light towards the celestial Thearch's physical body. However, the celestial Thearch's physical body punched out and destroyed the ray of destructive light. At the same time, the battle sword stabbed down and pierced through the race of the three-eyed divine race's forehead. Blood spurted out, and the huge battle sword went straight to the hilt. Sword Shi erupted and minced the race of the three-eyed divine race's head into pieces. After the race of the three-eyed divine race died, its claws let go of the vortex, and the huge figure disappeared into the vortex. The celestial Thearch's physical body held the battle sword and was about to kill another race of the three-eyed divine race. However, at this moment, the space split open, and several figures stepped out. One of them was the Demon Spirit Church's hierarch. You only have a physical body left, yet you still want to stop us. Today, I will destroy your physical body as well. The Demon Spirit Church's hierarch said coldly and attacked the celestial Thearch's physical body. The celestial Thearch's physical body slashed at the Demon Spirit Church's hierarch and sent him flying. Even though the celestial arch was only left with his physical body, his power was still astonishing. Rip! At this moment, the space continued to split open, and a figure stepped out. The burly man with dark skin from the Time God Island and the huge lizard from the realm of beasts all exuded a vast and boundless aura. Great emperors, they are all great emperors. Someone shouted in shock. These existences that suddenly appeared were all great emperors. Could it be that these existences are all the existences that were sealed in those remnants? Someone's voice interjected and voiced his guess. Many people fell silent. It seemed that something big was going to happen. The previous changes might be related to these powerful existences. Some people cast their gazes towards the stellar river. They remembered that the celestial Thearch's imprint had said that if they stepped forward, it would cause misery and suffering, and blood would flow like a river. Perhaps that was what it was referring to. Wasn't all of this caused by the stellar river? Humph. The stellar river snorted coldly, his face gloomy. He didn't care about the misery and suffering of the people, but what did the life and death of others have to do with him? What he was thinking about now was how to get the celestial Thearch's physical body and the celestial arch sword. Boom! Boom! A terrifying battle broke out. The Demon Spirit Church's hierarch, the huge lizard, and other powerhouses attacked the celestial Thearch's physical body at the same time. The void in the heart of the lotus trembled violently. Hangyu, you have suppressed me for countless years. Today, I will devour your physical body. The giant lizard roared and spat out terrifying flames toward the celestial Thearch's physical body. Chapter 1986. The Heavenly Emperor's body broke through the giant lizard's flames and attacked it. However, the other great emperors also attacked at the same time. All kinds of terrifying attacks blasted towards the Heavenly Emperor's body. Hangyu, it was your biggest mistake not to kill me back then. Today, I will tear your body apart. Those powerful beings had been suppressed for countless years. When they saw the Heavenly Emperor's body, they were filled with violent intent. Their eyes were red with killing intent as they launched terrifying attacks. Although these beings had been suppressed for countless years and their vitality was greatly damaged, their combat strength had been greatly reduced. However, they were still great emperors and their strength was not to be underestimated. After all, the Heavenly Emperor's body was just a body. Many people joined forces and all kinds of attacks fell on the Heavenly Emperor's body, causing it to retreat continuously. However, although the Heavenly Emperor's body retreated, there was not a single wound on its stone body. Clang! The stone sword vibrated and a bright light burst out from the stone man's body. At this moment, the heavenly emperor's body seemed to be revived. The stone sword swept across the sky and sword light burst out. Several powerful beings' faces changed drastically as they were sent flying by the sword. At this moment, the space in that area split open again as more experts stepped out and joined in the siege of the heavenly emperor's body. Kill our way out. Massacre the Yuan realm. Behind the vortex, there were constant roars and murderous aura that made people pale. The huge three-eyed divine being was doing its best to prop up the vortex, trying to make it bigger. A total of 10 great emperors joined in the siege of the heavenly emperor's body. Everyone's face turned ugly at this scene. 10 great emperors was an astonishing number. There were less than 10 great emperors in the Yuan Mountain's sacred ground. Many people's faces were solemn. If the heavenly emperor could not resist and the foreign races rushed in, the consequences would be unimaginable. The heavenly emperor's body shone brighter and brighter. At this moment, the stone body seemed to be transforming into a body of flesh and blood. His combat strength was also more terrifying and powerful. The stone sword swept across the sky and blocked the attacks of the 10 great emperors for a moment. Rip. At this moment, the space continued to split open as Great Emperor Wuxiang, Great Emperor Hang, Great Emperor He, and the great emperors of the Daluo Heaven sect appeared. Their faces were solemn as they joined in the battle to help the heavenly emperor's body resist the great emperors. Kill. With a helper, the pressure on the celestial Thearcha's body was greatly reduced. He roared as the stone sword broke through a few attacks. He arrived in front of the giant lizard and slashed with the stone sword. At this moment, the stone sword seemed to have transformed into an indestructible divine object. It was incomparably sharp and cut off one of the lizard's tails. Roar! The giant lizard roared and frantically retreated. At the same time, the attacks of the other experts landed on the Sky Emperor's body. However, the Sky Emperor's body could not be bothered with them. It was as if he only had eyes for the giant lizard. One attack after another landed on the Sky Emperor's body. The Sky Emperor's body trembled for a moment before he continued to attack the giant lizard. Puff! The sword light pierced through the void, piercing through the giant lizard's forehead and into the sword hilt. Hangyu, roar! The giant lizard let out a roar of despair, but in the next moment, the celestial emperor slashed with his sword, and the giant lizard's body was cut into two. Endless blood and flesh were absorbed by the two worlds, disappearing without a trace. Just like that, a great emperor was slain by the celestial emperor's physical body. Of course, this was also related to the fact that the giant lizard had been suppressed for many years and had not recovered its strength, but it was still shocking enough. Kill. The celestial emperor's physical body went berserk and attacked the others. After a few moves, he killed another powerful existence. The celestial emperor's physical body had killed two powerful enemies in a row. It was shocking. Every one of them was a great emperor. They were extremely powerful and terrifying, but now, they had fallen one after another. He doesn't have much energy stored in his body. There's only a wisp of imprint left. It's difficult to mobilize the heavenly energy. Let's attack him together. He won't last long. The demon spirit church leader roared. Their attacks continued to bombard the celestial emperor's physical body. The battle between Emperor Wuxiang and the others was also very intense. All kinds of energy exploded and the great Tao was added to their bodies. It was extremely shocking. Fortunately, the space near the Lotus World was special. Lu Ming and the others seemed to be not far from the Lotus World, but they were actually very far away. Otherwise, they would definitely be implicated by the aftermath of the battle between the great emperors. Even so, it was still shocking to watch. Rumble. The shockwaves from the battle between the great emperors were too great. The 9 lotus petals, which were the 9 worlds, were shaking violently as if they were about to explode under the terrifying energy. Swoosh! A jet black light of destruction burst forth and swept across one of the worlds. The space of that world was directly torn apart. Even though Lu Ming and the rest were very far away, they could see that in that world, countless people had been annihilated by the power of destruction and turned into ashes. Infinite Seas Realm. Lu Ming looked at the Infinite Seas Realm. The Infinite Seas Realm was also shaking violently. If it was penetrated, the people inside would also be in danger. Lu Ming looked worried. The Celestial Emperor's physical body erupted and the light became even brighter. He launched a storm-like attack and seriously injured another powerful existence. However, at this time, the aura of the Celestial Emperor's physical body began to weaken. It's too late. The Celestial Emperor's physical body shook his head. Then, he threw out the stone sword. The stone sword turned into thousands of sword lights and attacked those existences. His physical body instantly split into 8 and became even larger. Every figure carried a petal as they flew toward the boundless void outside. Only the 9th world was empty, so he didn't care. Finally, the Celestial Emperor's physical body carried the 8 worlds and rushed into the endless void. Tianjiao, take care. Lu Ming whispered and breathed a long sigh of relief in his heart. Although the Infinite Seas Realm and other worlds might never converge with the Primordial Realm after entering the vast void, at least they could survive. Kill. At this time, the vortex was slowly expanding, and then a dense number of figures rushed out from it. These figures were very burly, and each of them was covered in pitch-black scales and had a third eye between their eyebrows. The Three-Eyed Divine Tribe, they are indeed the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. These figures were almost exactly the same as the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe that Lu Ming had seen before. Some of the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe rode on strange beasts, and some stepped on the air. Each of them had a strong aura, but as soon as they rushed out, they were crushed by the aura of the battle between the great emperors. Kill them and let the army in. The demon spirit hierarch shouted, and the remaining 8 great emperors madly attacked Emperor Wuxiang and the others. Let's get out of here. Someone flew into the sky above the cave in fear. At this moment, 2 light figures flashed, and 2 figures appeared near Lu Ming and the others. Each of them emitted an astonishing fluctuation. That was the aura of a great emperor. A great emperor had rushed over. This is not a place where you can stay. Hurry up and leave, return to the Origin Mountain Sacred Court, and then leave Celestial City. Chapter 1987. Then, could it be the other 2 great emperors of the Yuanshan Academy? Ouyang Wushuang guessed. It's possible. Lu Ming and the others nodded. What should we do now? Huang Ling asked. This matter is beyond our ability. Let's listen to the great emperor and return to the Yuanshan Academy first. We'll take Xiang and the others and leave Celestial City. I feel that Celestial City won't be peaceful anymore. Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded. Boom. Boom. At this moment, the roar below the cave became even more terrifying. The shocking fluctuations even made Celestial City tremble. Rays of light rushed out from the cave. The battle below became even more tragic. Let's go. They no longer stayed. They soared into the sky and rushed toward the Yuanshan Academy. The others did the same. They turned into rays of rainbow light and left this place. While they were flying toward the Yuanshan Academy, the vibration behind them became more and more intense. Terrifying rays of light rushed out from the cave. Kill! Behind them, they heard shouts of killing. From far away, they seemed to see burly figures riding strange beasts rushing out of the cave. Some three-eyed divine race rushed out from inside and set foot on the land of the primordial realm. They didn't dare to stay and flew with all their strength. Heavenly Emperor Mountain was quite a distance away from the Yuanshan Academy. 10 minutes later, they arrived at the Yuanshan Academy. At this time, the battle at the original Heavenly Emperor Mountain had already developed to an unknown state. Lu Ming and the others returned to the Yuanshan Academy and returned to their residence. At this time, many people had already gathered at the residence. Lu Xiangxiang, Xuaningxin, and the others were all there. This time, only a group of the strongest people entered the world of the lotus. Those below the Supreme Saint realm didn't enter. They all stayed in the Yuanshan Academy, such as Lu Xiangxiang and the others. Master, what happened? Lu Xiangxiang asked. What happened at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain could be felt here because the vibration was too strong. There's an invasion. Now's not the time to talk. Gather everyone and leave Celestial City first. Hurry. Lu Ming ordered. Some of them should still be cultivating in seclusion. Immediately, they split up to gather the other members of the Dragon Alliance. For some of them, it was impossible to contact them in their cultivation grounds. Thus, they could only rely on the teachers of the Sacred Academy to pass on their messages. Half an hour later, most of the Dragon Alliance members had arrived. With the invasion of the foreign races, I'm afraid there will be a great battle in Celestial City. We have to withdraw from Celestial City. Who wants to go to Ancient Moon Holy Land with me? We can go together. If you don't want to, you can also leave together and return to your own forces. Lu Ming said. I'd better return to the sect. Me too. Let's return to the clan first. Many people said. Lu Ming nodded. These geniuses all had their own factions. They were members of the Dragon Alliance in the Origin Mountain Sacred Courtyard, but after leaving the Origin Mountain Sacred Courtyard, they naturally had to return to their respective sections. Lu Ming naturally wouldn't force it. In the Yuanshan Holy Courtyard, they belonged to the Dragon Alliance. In the future, they might be of use. Then let's go. Lu Ming said. Immediately, they flew out of the Yuanshan Sacred Courtyard. Kill. Kill them all. As soon as they arrived outside the Origin Mountain Sacred Courtyard, they heard a tide of battle cries. A group of three-eyed divine race riding strange beasts were fighting with a group of human martial artists. The battle was extremely tragic. Then, they glanced into the distance and found that all sides of Celestial City were engaged in a great battle. Rumble. In the depths of Celestial City, in the direction of Heavenly Emperor Mountain, the void trembled. Another group of three-eyed divine race riding strange beasts rushed over. The strange beasts stepped on the air, causing the sky to tremble violently. The three-eyed divine race had already charged out. The leader was a three-eyed member of the divine race. He was riding a huge and ferocious beast. He was wearing heavy armor and wielded a battle axe. His 3 eyes were as sharp as sword gleams. He swept his gaze toward Lu Ming and the group and shouted, "Charge, kill them." Rumble. This group of three-eyed divine race rode a giant beast and charged toward them. The strongest is only a quasi-emperor. Charge. Lu Ming shouted and took the lead to charge forward. Die for me. The leader of the three-eyed divine race slashed down with his battle axe and slashed at Lu Ming. At the same time, a destructive light burst out from his third eye. Prison suppression. With a wave of Lu Ming's hand, 9 prison suppression monument phantoms emerged and suppressed forward. Prison suppression monument, it's the prison suppression monument. The leader of the three-eyed divine race roared in horror. Boom! Under the suppression of the prison suppression monument phantoms, the opponent's attack and defense were unable to withstand a single blow and were directly killed. In addition, dozens of other three-eyed divine race members were also killed. At the same time, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others attacked, and a group of three-eyed divine race members were also killed. They immediately rushed out of the encirclement and rushed out of Celestial City. Someone has the power of the prison suppression monument, we can't let them go. We must kill them. In the distance, there was a roar, and a group of three-eyed divine race powerhouses rode strange beasts and charged toward them. Lu Ming and the others accelerated and rushed outside. They have the power of the prison suppression monument, kill. In the sky, there was a loud shout, and an incomparably huge battle axe slashed down at Lu Ming. The vast emperor's throne made people tremble in fear. Martial Emperor. A martial emperor powerhouse attacked Lu Ming, wanting to kill Lu Ming. But at this time, a huge iron rod swept out and collided with the battle axe, and a terrifying explosion erupted. Terrifying sound waves shook Lu Ming and the others' eardrums, stinging pain. A burly figure, holding an iron rod, appeared above Lu Ming and the others. It's a teacher. Lu Ming and the others were delighted. This is a teacher of Yuan Shan Holy Court. You guys go quickly, we will block the other party's martial emperor. The voice of Yuan Shan Holy Court's teacher came, and then, several figures appeared, exuding a vast aura. They are all teachers of Yuan Shan Holy Court, and they are all martial emperor powerhouses. Let's go. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to everyone, and they continued to rush out. Stay. Kill him. Several roars sounded in succession, and several powerful three-eyed divine race powerhouses rushed toward Lu Ming and the others. They are all martial emperor powerhouses. A dignified martial emperor powerhouse, dealing with a few juniors, you evil races are really shameless. Your opponent is us. The teachers of Yuan Shan Holy Court also took action, blocking the other party's martial emperor powerhouses. And Lu Ming and the others continued to rush out. Several three-eyed divine race cavalry rushed toward them in succession, but they were all defeated by them. Celestial City has been completely immersed in the flames of war. From that vortex, who knows how many three-eyed divine race rushed out, and there are shouts of killing everywhere. When Lu Ming and the others passed by the Heng family's territory, they found that the Heng family was also in a war. Above the Heng family, there are even true emperors fighting. The scene is astonishing. Chapter 1988. It was a mess, a complete mess. The Celestial City was in chaos. Without the help of the Emperor-level experts, their speed was extremely fast. Not long after, they finally arrived at the edge of the Celestial City. They rushed out of the city walls and rushed towards a citadel in the distance. Not long after, they successfully arrived at a citadel. Boom! Boom! Even though they were far away, they could still hear the violent roars coming from the Celestial City. From the Celestial City, there were constantly figures rushing out in all directions. Lu Ming and the rest did not stop and went to the teleportation array. However, most of them did not follow Lu Ming and the rest. Instead, they returned to their respective sections. Lu Ming, I have to return to the Divine Origin Empire first. The invasion of the foreign races is no small matter. The Divine Origin Empire must be prepared. Ouyang Wushuang said to Lu Ming. Alright, let's split up. We'll meet again in the future, but you must stay alive. Lu Ming's eyes were bright as he looked at the crowd. Definitely. Everyone must stay alive. Alliance leader, take care. Everyone bid farewell to Lu Ming and stepped into the teleportation array. In the end, only the people from the ancient moon's sacred ground, Luo Xiang, Huang Li, and the rest were left. Let's go. They also stepped into the teleportation array and teleported to the teleportation array outside the ancient moon's sacred ground. Then, they flew towards the ancient moon's sacred ground. After flying to the ancient moon's sacred ground, Huang Ling, Long Chen, Luo Tianyi, Yi Dongfang and the rest left and returned to their respective sections. Now, the major forces in the ancient moon's sacred ground probably had not received the news. They had to return as soon as possible to make preparations. In the end, Lu Ming brought Xiang Xiang, Xuaningxin, the 9 sky prides of the desolate race and Luo Xiang back to the Great Evolution Pill Hall. After returning to the Great Evolution Pill Hall and settling everyone down, Lu Ming found Uncle Kong and told him about the invasion of the three-eyed god race in the Celestial City. The evil god race has invaded. It's earlier than expected. Uncle Kong sighed, his face was solemn. Evil god race? Uncle Kong, where did these three-eyed monsters come from? Lu Ming asked. Kong Bo's cultivation was unfathomably deep, and he had lived for an unknown number of years. Perhaps he knew many secrets. They come from another world and call themselves the three-eyed god race. That's just boasting. We call them the evil god race. A long time ago, they attacked the heaven realm. After such a long time, most of the territory of the heaven realm has been conquered. Now, they have been trying to open the space barrier and invade the primordial realm. Uncle Kong said with a solemn expression, as if he was unwilling to say anything further. Lu Ming, your current mission is to focus on cultivating and improving your cultivation. You are not qualified to be involved in a battle like this. Lu Ming nodded. Even the heaven realm and the Hunyuan sect could not stop them. What could he do to stop them? Oh right, Uncle Kong, can you help me save someone? Lu Ming said. Then, he released the mid-autumn moon from the mountain river diagram. Until now, the mid-autumn moon was still unconscious. Uncle Kong's cultivation was profound, and he was the guardian of the Great Pill Evolution Hall. He was proficient in alchemy, so he might be able to save her. Uncle Kong stepped forward and waved his hand. A wave of energy shrouded the mid-autumn moon. After a while, Uncle Kong retracted the energy and frowned slightly. Lu Ming's heart sank. He quickly asked, Uncle Kong, how is the mid-autumn moon's injury? What a domineering method. She must have been attacked by the law of deprivation. Uncle Kong said. Yes, the person who attacked her has mastered the law of deprivation. Lu Ming said. No wonder. Uncle Kong said in a low voice, the injuries on her body are basically healed, but her soul is severely injured. Her soul is injured. Lu Ming was shocked. Soul injuries were the most difficult to heal. Yes, this girl's soul was attacked by the law of deprivation. She is seriously injured, so she has not woken up. If she wants to wake up, she must condense her soul. Otherwise, she will never wake up. Uncle Kong said. What? Lu Ming's heart trembled. He could not help but clench his fists tightly. It was possible that she would never wake up. At this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent towards Luo Zhangxiong was extremely strong. After taking a deep breath, Lu Ming calmed himself down and said, Uncle Kong, is there any way to condense the soul of the mid-autumn moon? Uncle Kong frowned and pondered. After a while, he said, now, we can only put the girl into the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron and use the alchemy fire to nourish her body. Every once in a while, we will need to add in some sacred herbs. This way, not only can we maintain the vitality of her body, but also prevent the remnants of her soul from dissipating. She can even slowly condense her soul. However, this method is only a temporary solution. If you want to completely wake her up, you will need other methods. Uncle Kong said. All right, I will do it immediately. Immediately, Lu Ming took out the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron and placed Autumn Moon inside. He controlled the alchemy fire of the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron to envelop Autumn Moon's body. Then, Lu Ming added in some sacred herbs. Under the effect of the alchemy fire, the medicinal efficacy of the sacred herbs seeped into Autumn Moon's body. Uncle Kong, do you know of any other methods that can completely wake Autumn Moon up? Lu Ming continued to ask. Uncle Kong shook his head and said, I have been in seclusion for many years, so I don't know much. However, you can go to the Vientiane Tower and ask around. Maybe you can find a method. This girl will be fine in the Great Pill Evolution Cauldron for a few hundred years. Don't worry. Vientiane Tower, Lu Ming's heart moved. Unfortunately, the celestial city was in chaos now, so he could not ask around for now. Fortunately, the mid-autumn moon was fine for now. He could only slowly look for a method in the future. After chatting with Uncle Kong for a while, Lu Ming left. Following that, he brought Xiang Xiang and called Ouyang Moli over and introduced them to each other. Senior sister. Ouyang Moli bowed to Lu Xiangxiang. Actually, Lu Xiangxiang was 2 years younger than Ouyang Moli. But at this moment, she had her hands behind her back and looked at Ouyang Moli with curiosity. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Ouyang Moli. She said in an old-fashioned manner, "You are second junior brother? Your cultivation is not good enough. You have to work harder." "Yes, senior sister." Ouyang Moli nodded his head. And Lu Xiangxiang still had that old-fashioned look. She nodded her head slightly and her eyes were filled with excitement. She felt that the taste of being the senior sister was pretty good. Lu Ming found it funny. This girl really had the demeanor of a senior sister. "Xiang, don't be arrogant. Your second junior brother has only cultivated for about 2 years and is about to become a saint. If you don't work hard, he will catch up to you," Lu Ming said with a serious face. "Less than 2 years? So fast?" Lu Xiangxiang blinked her big eyes. Ouyang Moli's cultivation speed was even faster than hers. Ouyang Moli had the body of reincarnation and had obtained the heart of the realm from the reincarnation emperor. His cultivation speed was shockingly fast, even faster than Lu Xiangxiang. In addition, with Uncle Kong's guidance, his foundation was extremely solid. He had already reached the peak of the half-saint realm and would soon become a saint. This kind of cultivation speed was too shocking. As his master, he felt ashamed. However, Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were true children of the heavens. They were not like Lu Ming, who was born with exceptional talent. It was normal for his cultivation speed to be fast in the early stages. Later on, his cultivation speed would slow down. For example, Hang Xinghe had been stuck at the peak of the Paragon Saint realm for 1 or 2 years and had not broken through to the boundary Emperor realm. There are many prodigies in the world. Don't be arrogant, Lu Ming warned seriously. Yes, master. Chapter 1989. In the following days, everyone cultivated in the Great Development Pill Hall. Lu Ming would often go to the Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect to find Long Chen and Huang Ling to understand the situation. The invasion of the foreign tribes shook the entire Yuan Mountain. Many powerful forces in the ancient Moon Sacred Ground were alarmed and began to gather the experts scattered across the land. As time passed, news about the invasion of the foreign tribes continued to spread. The Celestial City was completely occupied. The overlords of the Celestial City, Heng family and He family, fled the Celestial City and their whereabouts were unknown. Countless martial artists died in the battle. The Celestial City suffered heavy losses. A few days after the foreign tribes occupied the Celestial City, they began to send an army in all directions of the Celestial City. Everywhere they passed, not even chickens or dogs were spared. One by one, the emperor-ranked forces were attacked by the foreign tribes. From the martial emperors to the women and children who didn't know martial arts, everyone was killed. Everywhere they passed, blood flowed like a river and hundreds of millions of corpses were lying on the ground. Everyone was moved. The foreign tribes' methods were too ruthless. This was simply a massacre. The emperor-ranked forces around the Celestial City retreated to the 8 great sacred grounds. Among the 9 great sacred grounds of the Yuan Mountain, the Celestial City was at the center. The other sacred grounds surrounded the Celestial City. During this period, emperor-ranked forces poured into the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. As for the foreign tribes, they sent an army to attack in all directions and began to approach the other sacred grounds. 2 months after the battle in the Celestial City, the first foreign tribe army appeared outside the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. When they attacked the ancient Moon Sacred Ground, they were defeated by the experts of the ancient Moon Sacred Ground. In the face of this unprecedented pressure, all the powerful forces of the ancient Moon Sacred Ground temporarily put aside their grudges and formed an alliance. The Wind Clan came forward and gathered all the forces together to build a huge base. Many forces gathered together to resist the foreign tribes. The number of clashes between the ancient Moon Sacred Ground and the foreign tribes began to increase. Chaos is coming. Lu Ming stood on the peak of the Great Development Pill Hall, looking into the distance and muttering. At this moment, a ray of light suddenly flashed from the distance. Its speed was too shocking. When Lu Ming reacted, the ray of light appeared in front of Lu Ming. When Lu Ming saw the true appearance of the ray of light, he couldn't help but be shocked. A 1-meter-tall stone man with a stone sword. Wasn't this the sword of the Celestial Arch? Also, that was the Celestial Emperor's physical body. Although it was countless times smaller than when they first met, Lu Ming still recognized at a glance that it was the Celestial Emperor's physical body. In the previous battle, the Heavenly Monarch's physical body wielded the stone sword and killed 2 great monarchs consecutively. Later on, Lu Ming and the others returned to the ancient moon's sacred ground, but there was no news of the Heavenly Emperor's body or the other great emperors. At this moment, the Celestial Emperor's physical body and the Celestial Emperor's sword had actually come here. And from the looks of it, they were here for Lu Ming. Whoosh! Whoosh! The Celestial Emperor's body and Celestial Emperor's sword moved and flew into Lu Ming's glabella. They floated in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. Lu Ming was a little confused. At this moment, a white light flashed in front of Lu Ming and a figure floated out. It was the Celestial Emperor's figure. Lu Ming was shocked and quickly bowed. Junior Lu Ming greets Senior Celestial Emperor. There's no need for formalities. I'm just a mark. The Celestial Emperor's figure smiled. Senior Celestial Emperor, why are you here? Lu Ming asked the question in his heart. Back then, wasn't the Celestial Emperor's physical body controlled by Xinghe? Why was it flying into his sea of consciousness together with the Celestial Emperor's sword? Xinghe is too selfish. He only cares about himself and not others. He is not qualified to control the Celestial Emperor's physical body. You, on the other hand, have a good character. You are decisive and talented. Most importantly, you have something to protect. Moreover, you can pull out the battle sword that I left behind. This is enough to prove that you are qualified to control what I left behind. The Celestial Emperor's figure nodded. Lu Ming couldn't help but touch his nose. He wasn't as good as the Celestial Emperor made him out to be. He was just not that selfish. Senior Celestial Emperor, is the Han family really your descendant? Lu Ming asked. The Celestial Emperor pondered for a while, seemingly recalling the past, and said, I'm not a human. I achieved Tao with a stoneman body. When I just achieved Tao, I had a descendant with a human woman. That was the Han family later. Speaking of which, the Han family is indeed my descendant. However, countless years have passed. These juniors seem to be getting more and more useless. If you have a grudge with the Han family, you don't have to worry about me. Senior Celestial Emperor is actually a stoneman who achieved Tao. Lu Ming's heart stirred. No wonder the Celestial Emperor's physical body was a stoneman. The battle sword he used was also made of stone. Senior, your cultivation is so strong. Back then, how did you? Lu Ming was very curious. He wanted to know what the Celestial Emperor experienced back then. With Celestial Emperor Han Yu's cultivation, why did he fall? You want to ask me why I fell, right? The Celestial Emperor's figure smiled and said, speaking of which, I didn't fall. Didn't fall? Lu Ming was overjoyed, but he was immediately filled with doubts. If the Celestial Emperor didn't fall, why would he leave behind a physical body and a mark? I'll have to start from the evil god tribe. The Celestial Emperor's figure said. Immediately, the Celestial Emperor's figure told Lu Ming in detail. In ancient times, foreign tribes invaded the Heaven Realm and fought with the mighty figures of the Heaven Realm. At that time, heaven and earth were penetrated and connected to the primordial realm. Many relics of the Heaven Realm fell into the primordial realm. Some Heaven Realm cultivators also entered the primordial realm. Of course, there were also some foreign tribe cultivators who entered the primordial realm. However, the foreign tribe cultivators who entered the primordial realm were only a minority. Later on, these foreign tribe cultivators hid in the primordial realm. There were even strange and terrifying races who took over the bodies of humans and established their own factions. For example, the Demon Spirit Sect, the Evil Spirit Sect, and others. These factions specialized in hunting down human prodigies and human cultivators. Lu Ming finally knew the origin of the Evil Spirit Sect. It was actually created by foreign tribe cultivators. No wonder many Evil Spirit Sect cultivators, like the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe, were afraid of his prison-suppressing monument. A long time ago, the foreign tribe found a weak point in space and wanted to open a passage to let the evil god tribe's army in. However, they were discovered by the celestial emperor Hengyu. In order to stop these foreign tribe cultivators, a great battle broke out between the two sides. However, among the foreign tribe cultivators, there was a terrifying cultivator who specialized in attacking souls. He was also a celestial emperor, and he tore apart the celestial emperor Hengyu's soul. Although the celestial emperor Hengyu killed the other party in the end, his own soul was close to collapse. In the end, the celestial emperor Hengyu used his remaining strength to seal the other party's 8 thearchs into a small world. With the power of the small world and his own physical strength, he suppressed the passage. Lu Ming finally understood the origin of the Lotus World. However, although my soul was scattered back then and only a wisp of remnant soul was left, when I was about to die, I had a great enlightenment and broke through to another level. Instead, I condensed a physical body and came back to life. So, speaking of which, I can be considered someone who has died once. Chapter 1990. I've recondensed my body and come back to life. Lu Ming was shocked. He could imagine the unparalleled power of Heavenly Emperor Hengyu back then. He single-handedly blocked many foreign race elites and killed their Heavenly Emperor. He used the power of the small world to suppress the void passage and prevent the foreign race from invading. Finally, his remnant soul came back to life and reached a higher level. If this was written into a book, it would be a legend. However, Lu Ming had another question. Since the Heavenly Emperor was not dead, where was he now? Why did he only leave a mark? He did not appear in the previous battle. As if seeing Lu Ming's doubts, the Heavenly Emperor's figure explained, the Yuan realm has not reached the time for the real war. The war in the Heavenly Realm has reached a critical juncture. There are 9 heavens in the Heavenly Realm, but the other 8 heavens do not have a passage to the Yuan realm. Only the last heavens, the Taiqing Heavenly Realm, has a passage directly to the Yuan realm. Now, the remaining elites of the Heavenly Realm are guarding the Taiqing Heavenly Realm. The evil god tribe has always wanted to take over the Taiqing Heavenly Realm and then use the passage to invade the Yuan realm. I am now fighting in the Heavenly Realm. Lu Ming was a little dumbfounded. Today, he learned a lot of secrets. This body of mine is a stone body. It is now like a puppet. I'll give it to you. I hope it can help you. The Heavenly Emperor's figure continued. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The Heavenly Emperor's body was infinitely powerful. He had seen it before. It could even kill a great emperor. If he could control it, he would immediately become an unparalleled elite. The Golden Crow tribe and the Wan family would all be destroyed. Don't be happy too early. To control this stone body, you need energy. In the previous battle with the foreign race, I used up all my energy. Now, this mark is about to dissipate. So, to control this stone body, you have to constantly let it absorb energy. The more energy it absorbs, the stronger it will be. This stone body is like a puppet. Now that it has no energy, it can't be controlled and can't exert much power. The Heavenly Emperor's words were like a bucket of cold water splashed on Lu Ming's head. It looked like he was happy for nothing. However, Lu Ming immediately became excited again. This was the corporeal body of a celestial emperor. If he absorbed enough energy, he would be able to unleash terrifying power. Now, I'll teach you how to control this stone body and how to absorb energy. The Heavenly Emperor's figure walked over and tapped a finger on Lu Ming's forehead. Some information immediately appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Alright, this imprint of mine has completed its mission. It's time for it to dissipate. Little fellow, I look forward to the day when you grow up." The Celestial Emperor smiled. Senior, Lu Ming felt a little sad. There's no need to feel sorry for me. I'm not dead yet. My main body in the heaven realm can sense everything that's happening here. I hope we can meet in the heaven realm and fight side by side." The Heavenly Emperor's imprint smiled. Then, like a wisp of green smoke, it dissipated and disappeared between heaven and earth. "Senior, I believe it won't be long before we meet again." Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. Then, he sat cross-legged and carefully comprehended the method of controlling the stone body and absorbing energy that the Celestial Emperor had taught him. 2 hours later, Lu Ming had comprehended everything. He activated his cultivation method and carefully sensed it. He found that whether it was the Celestial Emperor's body or the Celestial Emperor's sword, they were like the bottom of a dry lake. There was no energy at all and he couldn't control them. "Let's try absorbing the origin stones." Lu Ming waved his hand and took out 100,000 high-grade origin stones. He activated them according to the method taught by the Celestial Emperor. Clang! The Celestial Emperor's sword flew to the back of the Celestial Emperor's body. The two merged together as if they were one. Bang! 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 100,000 origin stones exploded in an instant, turning into billowing energy that was absorbed by the Celestial Emperor's body and the Celestial Emperor's sword. A moment later, the energy of 100,000 primordial stones was completely absorbed. Lu Ming hurriedly sensed it and his face immediately turned bitter. He found that the 100,000 origin stones were not even filled with 1% of the energy. Not even 1,000th of the energy was filled. How much energy would it take to fill it up? Lu Ming was speechless. In the end, he gritted his teeth and took out 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones to let the Celestial Emperor's body begin to absorb. In the end, what made Lu Ming wail was that the energy of 1,000,000 high-grade origin stones was still not even 1% of the energy. Sigh, I'd better absorb the energy slowly. Haste makes waste. Lu Ming sighed and put the Celestial Emperor's body into the mountain river diagram, letting the Celestial Emperor's body absorb the energy between heaven and earth on its own. Now, Lu Ming felt that he was especially short of resources. The mid-autumn moon needed to refine sacred herbs often, and the Celestial Emperor's body needed a huge amount of energy. Fortunately, the Celestial Emperor's body could absorb any kind of energy, not limited to origin stones. Closing his eyes, Lu Ming cultivated quietly. Through the Celestial Emperor's words, Lu Ming felt a sense of urgency. The celestial realm seemed to be completely defeated. They could only defend the last celestial realm, the Grand Pure Sky, to stop the foreign tribes. If the foreign tribes broke through the Grand Pure Sky celestial realm, they would be able to send a large army through the Void Passage directly into the primordial realm. The passage in the Celestial Emperor City was just a small passage. More than 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. During these days, more and more foreign tribes came to the Ancient Moon's sacred ground to attack the Ancient Moon's sacred ground. The various forces in the Ancient Moon's sacred ground were under increasing pressure. In the end, in order to boost morale, the various sects joined forces and pooled their resources to create merit points. As long as one killed a foreign tribe member, they would be able to obtain merit points. Killing a martial emperor alien would give him 1 merit point. Killing a minor bright saint alien would give him 5 merit points. Killing a great bright saint alien would give him 10 merit points. Following this, as one's cultivation level increased, the merit points would double. With these merit points, one could exchange for all kinds of treasures, such as sacred herbs, sacred weapons, emperor weapons, origin stones, and so on. As a result, the Ancient Moon's sacred ground was in high spirits. The various major forces and the emperor-level forces from the outside world went out to hunt the foreign tribes. Lu Ming also decided to bring the group out to hunt the foreign tribes. Firstly, in a life-or-death battle, they could train themselves, stimulate their potential, and increase their cultivation level. Secondly, they could also exchange for resources, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Palace Master, go ahead. Take this jade talisman. If you encounter a martial emperor expert, crush it. The jade talisman will bring you back to the Great Evolution Pill Hall. Uncle Kong handed a jade talisman to Lu Ming. Lu Ming happily took it. This way, he would have less to worry about. If he encountered an emperor-level expert, he would be able to escape. After that, Lu Ming brought Huang Li and the other 9 desolate tribe geniuses along with Luo Xiang, Xiang Xiang, and Luo Xiang. Ouyang Moli's cultivation level was still low, so he did not bring him along. They flew to the west of the ancient moon's sacred ground and met up with Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Tianyi at the foot of a mountain. Lu Ming, this is the base built by the various forces in the ancient moon's sacred ground. Chapter 1991. The mountain was extremely majestic, and there were many majestic palaces built on it. There was no such mountain here in the past. Some time ago, the almighties of the various factions had forcefully uprooted it from the ground. It was 100,000 feet tall and had a radius of 10,000 miles. Every faction had built a huge and majestic palace on it. The various factions had sent a large number of experts to stay there. This way, the strength of the various factions could quickly gather and effectively deal with the attacks of the foreign tribes. They could also effectively counterattack. After all, the ancient moon's sacred ground was very big. There were at least 20 powerful factions scattered all over the place. If they wanted to gather the strength of the various factions at the last minute, it would be too difficult and would take time. If that happened, they would probably be attacked by the foreign tribes one by one. With a common base, the experts of the various factions could gather and mobilize them. It would be much more effective. Huang Ling and the others led Lu Ming and the others around in a big circle. Phoenix Palace, Divine Elephant Sect, and the others cultivated there. There was a huge palace. At the peak of the mountain, there was a huge and majestic palace. That was the place where merit points could be exchanged for resources. It was built by the various factions together. Currently, the strongest faction in the ancient moon's sacred ground is one of the ancient clans, the Wind Clan. The Wind Clan is temporarily in charge, and the other factions are assisting. Huang Ling explained. Lu Ming nodded. Let's go and hunt the foreign tribes. A cold glint flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. Then, the group flew out of the ancient moon's sacred ground. Soon, they flew out of the ancient moon's sacred ground and into the wilderness. Whoosh! Whoosh! High in the sky, a figure flashed by at an astonishing speed. It was an emperor-level expert. The emperor-level experts of the ancient moon's sacred ground would naturally deal with the emperor-level experts of the foreign tribes. The ones they hunted were those below the emperor level. Boom! 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 After flying for a while, they heard a loud explosion in front of them. Kill! Kill! Intense battle cries came like a tide. In front, large groups of foreign tribes rode on strange beasts and stepped on the void, fighting with the human martial artists. It was extremely tragic. At a glance, there were countless figures. In the sky, there was a terrifying burst of light, and a terrifying pressure came down like a mountain. In the sky was the battlefield of the emperor-level experts. Rumble. As soon as Lu Ming and the others arrived, they were immediately targeted by the outsiders. The main reason was that Lu Ming and the others were too young. They attracted too much attention. The armored horses stepped into the air and charged towards them. The one leading them was a quasi-emperor expert. Leave the quasi-emperor to me. You guys be careful. Lu Ming warned and flew forward, a long spear appearing in his hand. That spear had been obtained from Luo Pokong. It was an imperial armament. Whoosh! The spear pierced through the air, instantly traversing the void, breaking through the destructive light shot out from the third eye and piercing through the opponent's head. A quasi-emperor was instantly killed. With Lu Ming's current battle prowess, he could instantly kill ordinary quasi-emperors. As for Huang Ling, Long Chen, Xiang Xiang and the others, they were also fighting with the others. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the spear trembled. The third eye of the outsiders flew out and was put into Lu Ming's storage ring. The third eye of the outsiders could be considered a miraculous refining material. Furthermore, the third eye of the outsiders could be used to exchange for contribution points. With the death of the quasi-emperor leader, this group of outsiders was no match for Lu Ming and the others. They were instantly killed. Kill them. In the distance, even more outsiders charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Their iron hooves stomped on the air, looking very mighty. There were at least several hundred outsiders. Furthermore, there were 7 or 8 quasi-emperors. With so many experts charging at Lu Ming and the others, beams of destructive light shot towards Lu Ming and the others before they arrived. These beams of destructive light were not only aimed at Lu Ming but also at Desolate Force, Xiang Xiang, and the others. Spatial barrier. Chirp. Chirp. Bubbles stepped into the void and pressed down with her small hand. The surrounding void rippled like water, forming a barrier. When the beams of destructive light hit the spatial barrier, they were like stones sinking into the sea. It was unknown where they went. Kill. Lu Ming took the lead and charged forward. His emperor-level spear trembled, and beams of spear light enveloped 5 or 6 quasi-emperors. The weapons used by the three-eyed divine race were similar to the desolate race. They were all heavy weapons. They were either battle axes or hammers. They swung them and attacked Lu Ming, blocking Lu Ming's spear light. However, in the next moment, transparent bubbles suddenly appeared on their bodies, enveloping them. Following that, Lu Ming stabbed out with his spear, killing quasi-emperors one after another. With Lu Ming and Bubbles working together, ordinary quasi-emperors could only die. In the blink of an eye, 4 quasi-emperors were killed by the 2 of them. Courting death. A particularly burly quasi-emperor broke through the Bubbles' shackles. His third eye shot out a beam of light that instantly rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spear trembled and swept towards the beam of light. Boom! The spear trembled, and Lu Ming could not help but feel his arm go numb. Kill! The quasi-emperor wielded his battle axe and charged towards Lu Ming. Not bad. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This three-eyed divine race was much stronger than the other quasi-emperors. He was comparable to the human race's superior heaven astral body quasi-emperors. Leave the quasi-emperors to me and Bubbles. You guys deal with the others. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xiang Xiang and company. Then, he held his spear and fought with the strongest quasi-emperor. As for Bubbles, she charged towards the other quasi-emperors. Lu Xiang Xiang, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others charged towards the quasi-emperors. Many people had gained something from the trip to the world of the lotus. Long Chen and Huang Ling's cultivation had reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Huang Li's cultivation had also reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Tianyi had even reached the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Luo Xiang's cultivation was comparable to Lu Ming's. He was at the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. With their combat strength, it was still easy for them to deal with the three-eyed divine race who were not quasi-emperors. They immediately killed a large number of them. Lu Xiang was enveloped in a ball of green mist. With a shout, a huge ancient tree formed. It was like the everlasting azure tree. It stood tall in the sky and suppressed a three-eyed divine race who was at the peak of the Absolute Saint Realm. Boom! The three-eyed divine race was directly killed by the everlasting azure tree. Not even his bones were left. Xiang Xiang's cultivation was only at the peak of the Great Saint Realm, but she could already kill an absolute saint. The combat strength of the Elysian children was indeed shocking. At the same time, Lu Ming had already exchanged a few blows with the quasi-emperor. I can't use the imperial weapon alone. I'll use the 10,000 weapon incantation to refine the imperial weapon into my acupoints. Lu Ming thought. He put away the imperial weapon and used the chaotic finger of calamity instead. Whoosh! He pointed his finger at the Quasi-Emperor's battle axe. The Quasi-Emperor's body shook violently. He couldn't help but retreat. The battle axe in his hand was knocked away. Then, Lu Ming pointed his finger again. This time, the force was highly condensed. It formed a small finger force and shot toward the Quasi-Emperor. The Quasi-Emperor seemed to sense danger. A layer of black light covered his body. He punched at Lu Ming with both fists. Chapter 1992. After killing the opponent, Lu Ming rushed over and snatched the opponent's third eye. Then, he helped Bubble kill the other boundary emperors. In this way, those below the boundary emperor level were no match for them and were slaughtered in large numbers. Soon, this group of three-eyed divine tribe members was wiped out. Then, they killed in other directions. This battlefield was very vast. In the sky, there were figures of martial artists and three-eyed divine tribe members everywhere. There was no end in sight. Lu Ming and the others gathered together and like a sharp knife, they rushed into the battlefield and killed the three-eyed divine tribe members. With Lu Ming and Bubble's combat strength, they were almost invincible against those below the martial emperor level. They killed the three-eyed divine tribe members one by one. After a few hours of killing, in the distant sky, there was a violent sound of war drums. Then, the three-eyed divine tribe retreated. The ancient Moon Holy Land experts also retreated back to the city. Lu Ming and the others did not immediately go to the base to exchange for merit points. They did not have enough and wanted to wait until they had accumulated more merit points. Sure enough, on the second day, the three-eyed divine tribe army attacked again. Many ancient Moon Holy Land experts also went out to kill. In the empty wild mountain, they continued to fight. This was a war between two different races. It was a life and death battle. No one would show mercy. On the ground, there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood. There were human martial artists, demon martial artists, and three-eyed divine tribe members. After fighting for a while, the three-eyed divine tribe members seemed to feel that they could not win and retreated. But on the second day, they would attack again. After more than 10 days of fighting, Lu Ming and the others gained a lot. When the three-eyed divine tribe retreated again, Lu Ming and the others returned to the base. They went to the highest point and prepared to exchange for some treasures. Lu Ming mainly wanted to exchange for sacred medicine and origin stones. You guys, take out the three-eyed divine tribe's third eye. A group of old men stood on a huge counter. These people were all experts of the major forces. Those resources were jointly provided by the major forces. Naturally, each force would send experts to supervise. Lu Ming and the others took out their storage rings, and then a large number of three-eyed god races' third eyes appeared. It was piled up like a small hill, causing many people to be stunned. The third eye of the three-eyed divine race was like a gem, sparkling and dazzling. It was very beautiful and contained miraculous power. It could be used to refine weapons and was a good material for refining weapons. So many of them. So many of them are at the Sage Realm or even the Boundary Emperor Realm. Terrifying. The son of Chaos Lu Ming, these people's battle prowess is too terrifying. Indeed. I've seen them fight before. They can kill quasi-emperors in an instant. Apart from martial emperors, no one else can do that. Around them, many people were looking at the three-eyed god tribe with burning eyes. Among them, a white-haired old man counted the eyeballs. These eyeballs of the three-eyed divine race could be exchanged for 1,000,000 merit points. How astonishing was that? What treasure do you want to exchange for? The white-haired old man asked. Wait. Right at this moment, a cold voice sounded. Following that, a few figures walked out from the hall. The leader was a young man with an elegant demeanor. Feng Wuchen. Cold killing intent appeared in Lu Ming's eyes. Feng Wuchen also glanced coldly at Lu Ming and the others. Finally, his gaze landed on the three-eyed divine race's eyeballs and revealed a trace of greed. You want to exchange for treasures? Feng Wuchen asked. That's right. Lu Ming replied. I'm afraid that's not possible. You're too late. During this period of time, a large number of treasures have been exchanged. The number of treasures in the treasury has decreased sharply, so we can't exchange for them for the time being. Feng Wuchen sneered. Not enough treasures? Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Ridiculous. We came here and there aren't enough treasures. How can others have enough? Huang Ling sneered. Others have less, but you have more. Naturally, it's not enough. If you're willing to exchange for treasures at a discount, that's fine too. Feng Wuchen sneered. If you say it's not enough, then it's not enough. This place isn't under your control. The other seniors didn't say that it's not enough. Lu Xiangxiang shouted, looking very unhappy with Feng Wuchen. Although many treasures have been exchanged during this period of time, the remaining treasures should be enough, right? An expert from Phoenix Palace said. That's not right. If the remaining treasures are all exchanged by them, then there won't be anyone else here. Won't that disappoint everyone and damage their morale? An elder from the Wind tribe said. The expression of the person from Phoenix Palace darkened, but he didn't say anything. This time, the ancient moon's sacred ground was led by the Wind tribe. The Wind tribe was undoubtedly the strongest. During this period of time, the other factions will continue to replenish their treasures. When they're done, you can come again. Feng Wuchen smiled faintly. How long will it take for the next replenishment? Huang Ling asked. A few months. Feng Wuchen said. Then we'll come again next time. Lu Ming said. He couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Feng Wuchen. With a wave of his hand, he put away the eyeball of the three-eyed divine race. Why don't you keep the eyeball of the three-eyed divine race? We'll record it in our account and won't shortchange you. Feng Wuchen said. No need. I can't trust a despicable person like you. Lu Ming said and turned to leave. The others smiled mockingly and also turned to leave. Damn it. Feng Wuchen's expression darkened. His eyes darted around as if he was thinking of a scheme. In my opinion, that Feng guy is deliberately targeting us. He's deliberately not exchanging for us. I really want to beat him up. Huang Li said unhappily. With so many factions present, they can't deny it. At most, we'll exchange for it later. Lu Ming said. Those resources and treasures were gathered by the various factions and didn't belong to the Wind tribe alone. They couldn't deny it. They just had to wait for a while. In the next few days, they continued to fight with the three-eyed divine race every day to train themselves. Ever since Xiangxiang Bela started cultivating, she had rarely fought with her enemies. This was a very good tempering for her. During this period, Xiangxiang's combat experience increased rapidly. Even her cultivation showed signs of loosening, nearing the Great Sage realm. This made the others sigh. The cultivation speed of the Elysian children was truly astonishing. On this day, they set off again and stepped onto the battlefield. Lu Ming, I want to separate from you guys and train alone. Huang Ling said. I have the same intention. Long Chen also said. Then, Luo Tianyi and Huang Li also expressed their intentions. Although it was safer for everyone to gather together, it wouldn't have a good training effect. There wouldn't be the feeling of a life-and-death crisis. Only by facing danger alone could one stimulate one's potential and reach a higher level. If you want to cultivate the light of the laws, you have to train in life-and-death situations. Otherwise, it'll be very difficult to cultivate it. Luo Tianyi said. The eyes of the others also lit up with a blazing light. They were all geniuses and all had ambitions. They all wanted to become stronger. Only by cultivating the light of the laws could they suppress other Elysian children. Chapter 1993. Alright, but it's best if there are two of you or more. That way, we can take care of each other," Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded. Then, Luo Tianyi and Huang Li led the other geniuses and charged into the distance. Long Chen, Huang Ling, and Luo Xiang formed a group and ran into the distance. "Bubbles, you provide support. If any of them are in danger, help them immediately," Lu Ming said to Bubbles. "All right, brother Lu Ming." Chirp chirp. Bubble nodded, and her petite body flashed, disappearing without a trace. As for Lu Ming, he led Lu Xiangxiang and charged in one direction. Bam! Not long after, Lu Ming killed a three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor with one punch. He also took the three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor's third eye and a black bracelet. This bracelet was used by the three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor to store items. It was similar to a storage ring. "Xiang Xiang, I'll leave these two to you." Lu Ming left the two three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperors to Xiang Xiang in a flash. He took care of the rest. The battlefield was the best place to train. He thought that when Ouyang Moli's cultivation level was higher, he would take him out to train as well. Xiang Xiang fought the two three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperors alone. The battle was intense. Not long after, Xiang Xiang successfully killed the two three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperors. Lu Ming nodded in satisfaction. Then, he gave Xiang Xiang a three-eyed divine tribe member who was at the great mastery of the Supreme Sage realm. The three-eyed divine tribe boundary emperor immediately gave Xiang Xiang fatal pressure. Xiang Xiang was in danger. Puff! Xiang Xiang Bear's shoulder was hit by the opponent's light of destruction, and a hole appeared. However, Lu Ming had no intention of helping. He had experienced too many life and death battles in his life. He knew very well that if one didn't experience life and death battles, it would be useless no matter how talented they were. "Master!" Xiang Xiang cried out, her face pale. "Solve it yourself. As the son of life, do you want to always rely on others?" Lu Ming said with a cold expression. With a punch, he killed a perfected absolute saint who was charging toward him. Xiang Xiang clenched her teeth. Her body began to emit a green light. She revolved the life laws and her wounds instantly healed. The life body and life law contained boundless vitality. It was many times stronger than Huang Ling's undying flame law. At the same time, countless vines appeared and swept towards the other party like long whips. But there was no doubt that Xiang Xiang was at a disadvantage. Although her talent was strong, it was a pity that she didn't have much combat experience, so she couldn't use her full strength. However, the more she fought, the more Xiang Xiang seemed to have found the ability to protect herself. "Yes." Lu Ming nodded and then hunted alone in the surrounding area. Xiang Xiang had been fighting with her opponent for hundreds of moves. She had been injured many times, but with the help of the law of life, she had quickly recovered. What monster? The three-eyed godly being grew more and more frightened. His opponent couldn't be killed at all, but his injuries were getting worse and worse. After a few hundred moves, Fragrant Fragrance finally exhausted her opponent to the brink of death and killed her opponent. Xiang Xiang was also badly injured, but with the help of the law of life, she was recovering quickly. "Master, I did it." Xiang Xiang came to Lu Ming's side. Her eyes were much sharper than before. "Yes, not bad. Continue." Lu Ming continued to pass a three-eyed divine tribe member who was at the great perfection of the absolute saint realm to Xiang Xiang. Xiang Xiang was indeed very talented. She improved at a shocking speed in the battle of life and death. Her combat strength, the use of the law of strength, and her battle awareness and mentality were all undergoing huge changes. This time, Xiang Xiang finished off her opponent within 100 moves. Although she was badly injured, she wasn't afraid of being injured. Lu Ming nodded. He continued to kill the three-eyed godly being with Xiang Xiang. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Huang Li were all going through difficult battles. Their opponents were naturally at the level of a quasi-emperor. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Huang Li were all at the peak of the absolute saint realm. They could barely fight against a quasi-emperor, but it would be very difficult. Luo Tianyi's cultivation was higher, so she was better off, but she was also in a difficult battle. Everyone was in a battle of life and death, hoping to break through their limits and achieve a breakthrough. Whoosh! Suddenly, a destructive light pierced toward Lu Ming. This beam of destructive light cut through the void silently. However, Lu Ming had goosebumps all over his body. He could sense a fatal threat. Without hesitation, Lu Ming pointed in that direction. The power of the chaotic calamity finger gathered in his finger and clashed with the destructive light. Boom! Lu Ming felt a terrifying power surge toward him. He couldn't help but take a few steps back. His fingers felt numb. What a strong power! Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and looked forward. In front of him, a 5-meter-tall three-eyed godly being rode a strange beast. He stepped on the air and emitted a terrifying aura. This three-eyed godly being wasn't at the martial emperor realm, but he was definitely powerful. Kid, I've been watching you for a few days. During this time, you've killed many of our people. Today is the day you die. Kill! The burly three-eyed godly being shouted. He waved the battle axe in his hand. The strange beast roared and stepped on the void, charging toward Lu Ming. Roar! That mutated beast roared, spewing out a jet of black light from its mouth, charging toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the three-eyed godly being's battle axe slashed toward Lu Ming. The giant axe seemed to be able to split the sky. Its power was terrifying. Saint weapons floated out of Lu Ming's body. There weren't many, only 37. Back then, when Shao Chen fought the quasi-emperor in the world of the lotus flower, most of the saint weapons sealed in his acupoints were destroyed. Only 10-odd absolute holy weapons remained. During this time, Lu Ming cultivated the 10,000 weapon art again. This time, he did not seal the bright saint weapons or great sage weapons. Instead, he sealed all the absolute holy weapons. He sealed a total of 36 absolute holy weapons. One of them was an emperor weapon. It was the emperor weapon spear that Shao Chen obtained from Luo Pokong. Although there were fewer of them than before, their might was several times stronger. Lu Ming held on to the long spear while the other 36 absolute sacred weapons hovered around him. The aura of the combat weapons merged and blocked the attack of the mutated beast. At the same time, Shao Chen thrust his spear upward and clashed with the other party's battle axe. Dang! Horrifying vibrations erupted. The other party roared and retreated 10-odd steps with the strange beast under him. As for Lu Ming, he also retreated. What strong combat prowess! It is equivalent to a quasi-emperor's sovereign body. This thought flashed in Lu Ming's mind, and a strong fighting spirit flickered in his eyes. This was the strongest quasi-emperor that Lu Ming had encountered so far. Previously, the quasi-emperors that Lu Ming encountered did not put any pressure on him. However, this quasi-emperor was different. It had the strength to threaten Lu Ming's life. Chapter 1994. Kill! Kill! Lu Ming and the three-eyed divine being roared as they fought. Lu Ming used the 10,000 weapon art to gather the aura of the weapons on the spear, making the spear's power extremely shocking. The spear light whistled and pierced the sky as it fought with the three-eyed divine being. The three-eyed divine being's battle axe fell like a storm. At the same time, his third eye would shoot out a destructive light from time to time. Its power was extremely shocking. The mutated beast would also attack Lu Ming. The spear vibrated and immediately, hundreds of spear light pierced toward the three-eyed divine being. At the same time, he pointed with his left hand. Chaotic calamity finger. Swoosh! A terrifying finger force condensed into the shape of a thread and pierced through the air. This finger was not pointed at the three-eyed divine being, but at the mutated beast under him. Poof! That mutated beast's combat strength was equivalent to an ordinary boundary emperor. It could not resist at all and its forehead was pierced. It died on the spot and its corpse fell to the ground. Damn it! The three-eyed divine being roared and his murderous intent became even colder. He attacked Lu Ming like a storm. Lu Ming held the spear in his right hand and dense runes appeared on it. Soon, the runes covered the spear and then the spear pierced out, forming a true dragon that whistled out. Lu Ming was using the spear to display the illusory spirit scroll of the 9 scrolls of array path. However, the true dragon was scattered by the opponent's battle axe. This was within Lu Ming's expectations. The spear vibrated again and a destructive force erupted. This was the destruction scroll of the 9 scrolls of array path. Lu Ming was using the opponent to hone his 9 scrolls of array path so that he could merge the sealing scroll, destruction scroll, and illusory spirit scroll as soon as possible. To be honest, a boundary emperor's monarch body was very powerful and required Lu Ming to go all out. Using the 9 scrolls of array path alone, Lu Ming was undoubtedly at a disadvantage and was suppressed by the opponent. However, this was exactly what Lu Ming needed. In the face of adversity, his 9 scrolls of array path progressed at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of moves had been exchanged. Yes, that's the feeling. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up as he thrust out his spear. Roar! A true dragon flew out and pounced on the other party. This move again. Break for me. The three-eyed god race roared and swung his giant axe down, splitting the true dragon in half. However, the true dragon immediately exploded, turning into countless runes that covered the axe. Following the axe, it spread to the other party's body, forming a powerful sealing power. That's right, Lu Ming had successfully merged the illusory spirit scroll and the sealing scroll together. This move contained 2 of the 9 scrolls of the formation Dao. Damn it! The three-eyed divine race member roared and erupted with all of his strength. Black light erupted from his entire body. Those symbols dimmed and collapsed one after another. Again. Lu Ming thrust out his spear again. Once again, a true dragon flew out and collided with the opponent's battle axe. This time, an astonishing rumble was heard, and the opponent's battle axe vibrated. This move was a combination of the illusory spirit codex and the destruction codex, and its prowess was enhanced significantly, allowing him to successfully fend off the other party's attack. If I combine the 3 scrolls, it will be even more powerful. Lu Ming thought. At the same time, he kept thrusting out with his spear, but in the end, he still failed. Combining 3 scrolls was much more difficult than combining 2 scrolls. If I can combine the Destruction Codex and the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger, wouldn't the power of the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger increase exponentially? Lu Ming suddenly had a flash of inspiration, and his eyes lit up. The power of the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger was already very strong, but if it was combined with the Destruction Codex, it would definitely be even stronger. However, this involved the fusion of 2 types of laws, which was even more mysterious. Lu Ming tried a few more times, but he did not succeed. However, this was a direction. As long as Lu Ming kept trying, he would eventually succeed. Now, let's finish you off. Killing intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He kept thrusting out with his spear, using the fusion of the illusory spirit codex and the sealing scroll. At the same time, he used the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger with his left hand, attacking from both sides. Boom! 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 The 2 exchanged several dozen moves before Lu Ming finally gained the upper hand. The other party's body was covered in a dense layer of talisman scripts, affecting his strength. Pooh! Lu Ming pointed, and the Primal Chaos Calamity Finger pierced through the other party's body. Half of the other party's body exploded. The other party roared and turned to flee. Lu Ming gave chase. However, the other party was indeed very strong, comparable to Lu Ming. Despite suffering injuries, the other party quickly fled far away. Lu Ming could only give up on the chase. A quasi-emperor level sovereign body was indeed very strong. Lu Ming could only defeat the other party after bringing out his full power and using 2 types of laws. However, he still could not kill the other party. Lu Ming turned around and continued hunting the three-eyed divine race with Xiang Xiang. On the other side, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang were engaged in a life-and-death battle with 2 quasi-emperors. Given the three's combat prowess, fighting 2 quasi-emperors was very difficult. This was a true life-and-death battle, with their lives in danger at any moment. Huang Ling used her undying flame laws to execute the undying cage. While attacking, she also defended. As for Long Chen, his body swelled up like a giant. Every time he attacked, an elephant's trumpeting sounded. The divine image stepped on the air and attacked the other party. As for Luo Xiang, he was moving around. He held a rusty iron sword in his hand, but it was incomparably sharp. His movements were sometimes fast and sometimes slow, and the speed of his sword was sometimes fast and sometimes slow, making it hard for people to guard against. Even so, under the terrifying attacks of the quasi-emperor, they were still in a perilous situation, facing fatal danger. Die for me. A quasi-emperor suddenly launched himself at Luo Xiang. A terrifying force sealed the space around Luo Xiang, making it difficult for him to move quickly. Then, a berserk attack charged at Luo Xiang. Of the 3, Luo Xiang's cultivation was the lowest. The quasi-emperor wanted to kill Luo Xiang first before moving on to the others. Oh no! Huang Ling and Long Chen's expressions changed drastically. They wanted to help but were blocked by the other quasi-emperor. They could not rush over immediately. Die! That quasi-emperor had a ferocious look in his eyes as he attacked Luo Xiang. In the face of a life-and-death crisis, Luo Xiang was very calm. His eyes narrowed slightly, flickering with a terrifying sharpness. In his sea of consciousness, his sword soul vibrated and the iron sword in his hand buzzed. At this moment, he circulated all his strength. Whoosh! A sword light burst out, illuminating the sky. It was extremely stunning. Puff! The attack of that three-eyed divine being was forcefully broken. These brats must die. The three-eyed divine being roared in his heart. These youths were too strong. In the future, when they grew up, they would be a great enemy of their race. He charged at Luo Xiang again. Clang! The iron sword in Luo Xiang's hand vibrated and emitted a resplendent light. At this moment, a powerful aura erupted from his body. He broke through. At the critical moment, Luo Xiang broke through. Chapter 1995. He broke through. Great! Long Chen and Huang Ling were overjoyed. Luo Xiang's battle power increased greatly after his breakthrough. He broke through the enemy's attack and fought with Huang Ling and Long Chen. Luo Xiang's breakthrough increased their battle power. They were finally able to fight with the enemy. No one noticed that a cold gaze swept over Lu Ming and the others from time to time. It was Feng Wuchen. These people will be a huge threat to the Feng tribe sooner or later. We have to get rid of them as soon as possible. Feng Wuchen's eyes flashed with a fierce light. He then transmitted his voice to his subordinates. Then, they attacked some of the three-eyed divine beings. After a few moves, they suddenly changed direction and charged toward Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang. The three-eyed divine beings chased after them. Soon, they were close to Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang's battlefield. Oh no! Huang Ling and the others' expressions changed. Feng Wuchen wanted to kill them with a borrowed knife. He wanted to lure the three-eyed divine beings to them so that they could kill them. You guys came at the right time. These guys are the top prodigies of the human race. They will be a huge threat in the future. We have to get rid of them first. One of the three-eyed divine beings who was fighting with Huang Ling and the others shouted. He wanted the other three-eyed divine beings to kill Huang Ling and the others. Okay, let's kill these people first. The three-eyed divine beings who were chasing Feng Wuchen and the others immediately gave up on them and charged toward Huang Ling and the others. Among Feng Wuchen and the others, only Feng Wuchen was a top prodigy. The others were all old and had limited potential. Compared to killing Feng Wuchen and the others, the three-eyed divine beings were more willing to kill Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang. At least 3 or 4 boundary emperors and more than 10 absolute saints charged toward Huang Ling and the others. The three's expressions changed drastically. They quickly retreated but were held back by the 2 boundary emperors from before. Haha. Feng Wuchen was overjoyed. The process was smoother than he thought. He led the Feng tribe's elites and quickly left. On the other side, Lu Ming also noticed this. Oh no. Lu Ming's face turned ugly. With a wave of his hand, a ray of saint power swept up Xiang Xiang and quickly rushed towards Huang Ling and the others. However, he was still quite a distance away from Huang Ling and the others. It would take some time for him to reach them. Huang Ling, Long Chen, and Luo Xiang were besieged by so many quasi-emperors and immediately fell into fatal danger. Puff! Long Chen's body was penetrated by a beam of destructive light. His flesh and blood exploded. The scene was extremely horrifying. Luo Xiang didn't have it easy either. One of his arms was chopped off. Although Huang Ling had the undying flame laws, she blocked even more attacks and suffered heavy injuries. As soon as they exchanged blows, the 3 of them were heavily injured and fell into a crisis. All of you, retreat. Long Chen roared, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. His fists punched out continuously, and the silhouettes of divine elephants appeared one after another. They charged toward the other party in the air. He fought against a few boundary emperors alone so that Huang Ling and Luo Xiang could have a chance to escape. However, he was alone, and his battle prowess was limited in the end. The divine elephant was destroyed, and his body was blasted. Half of his body directly exploded, and he almost died. Die! A three-eyed boundary emperor's eyes flashed with a ferocious glint. He swung his giant axe at Long Chen's head. If this attack landed, Long Chen would definitely die. Just then, Long Chen, Huang Ling, and Luo Xiang's bodies flickered like phantoms. In the next moment, they appeared 1,000 meters away. The three-eyed boundary emperor's attack missed. A petite figure appeared beside Huang Ling and the others. It was Bubble's timely intervention that saved them. Kill! The three-eyed boundary emperor charged toward Bubble. You are the ones who will die. Chirp chirp. Bubble pressed her small hand down, and the void fluctuated. More than a dozen absolute saint-level three-eyed boundary emperors' bodies were directly torn into pieces by the power of space. Even the few boundary emperors retreated frantically, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Space-time laws. No, retreat. A three-eyed boundary emperor's expression changed drastically, and he wanted to retreat. However, a few transparent bubbles appeared and enveloped them. Die. A cold voice rang out from the sky. Following that, a spear ray pierced through the top of their heads. A total of 7 boundary emperors were killed in an instant. Lu Ming's figure descended. With a wave of his hand, he kept the three-eyed boundary emperor's corpse. Then, he stepped out and appeared beside Huang Ling and the others. Heal your wounds first. Lu Ming said. Long Chen, Luo Xiang, and Huang Ling were severely injured, especially Long Chen and Luo Xiang. Their bodies were about to explode. However, with the strength of their spiritual bodies, it was not difficult for them to regrow their limbs. The 3 of them sat cross-legged in the air and began to heal their wounds. Lu Ming and Bubble stood guard around them. Any three-eyed boundary emperor that attacked them were mercilessly killed by them. Long Chen and Luo Xiang's bodies began to heal and recover. A few hours later, their external injuries had healed. However, it would take them a few days to recover to their peak condition. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the war drum sounded, and the three-eyed boundary emperor began to retreat. Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. Then, he stepped toward the direction of the base. Luo Tianyi, Huang Ling, and the others looked at each other and followed Lu Ming. Soon, they returned to the base. Lu Ming did not stop. He went straight up and finally arrived in front of a majestic palace. This palace was the Wind Clan's encampment. Lu Ming walked toward the door of the palace. Stop, this is the base of the Feng tribe. Other than the members of the Feng tribe, only those who are invited can enter. Are you invited? In front of the door, two burly men blocked Lu Ming. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted. The two burly men's bodies shook violently. They were sent flying and vomited blood. You, how dare you, one of them pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Bam! Lu Ming suddenly took a step forward. A terrifying force surged out and bombarded the door of the Feng tribe's palace. Boom! The door exploded into pieces and flew everywhere. The two burly men guarding the door were stunned. Someone dared to smash the door of the Feng tribe's palace. This was a slap to the Feng tribe's face. The commotion here also alarmed the other forces. Figures flew out from the palaces and looked in their direction. It's Lu Ming. He's so bold to smash the door of the Feng tribe. What happened? Why did Lu Ming do this? I heard that Lu Ming and Feng Wuchen have a grudge. There was a lot of discussion. Who is it? You're courting death. Angry roars could be heard from the Feng clan's palace. Many figures dashed out and looked at Lu Ming and the rest with gazes as cold as knives. Where's Feng Wuchen? Ask him to come out and die. Lu Ming shouted, ignoring the Feng tribe's experts. You're Lu Ming. A Feng tribe expert recognized Lu Ming and narrowed his eyes. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.